Hello, Magic players! Welcome you to the third review special. We have, again, super cool guests for our reviews. First, I will introduce my guest. Then we go on with yours, Charles. Wait a second. Here you are. I'm sorry, the screens are switched from where Discord is. So, Magnus, good to have you here.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here. Nice to come in and get to talk about decks for a while.
Nice.
That's great. So we have Magnus de Laval, and we also have Jeff Anand, our two guests that are going to help us for the review special, episodes 51 to 75. In part one, we're going to go through Mitja's decks, and then in part two, take about 2 hours, and then in part two, we're going to go through my decks, episode 51 to 75. We have a lot of decks to go through, so I think we could just get right into it and go through episode 51's deck.
Yeah, perfect. So we start with the first list, and here we are. Click it. I call this deck Rubinia Control. Deck plan basically here is control your opponent's creatures and sack them into Diamond Valley. It turned out to play. It is a super good deck. I got inspired by Francesco Delfino from the Fish Liver Oil crew. I saw a comparable list he played on last year's Fish Liver Oil. Rip it apart, guys. Whoever want to start.
So my first thought was that it's the one of Rasputin in the sideboard is a little Konstantin Plichwin tech. We've seen that from the Russians occasionally, that one of. And always when I see a Rubinia or something, it's my mind goes to Ben Twitchen also. It's almost like if you see a Rubinia deck and it's not from the Italians, it's often like Ben who has one off or something random. But it looks like a really a solid deck just in general, combining the control elements with the books, the disenchants, the close, the counter spells, with some more janky stuff. Maybe this isn't the best deck for factories. I'm not sure.
That's quite right. But I had no troubles with factories because I can instant speed control the factories with Rubinias, right?
Yeah.
Or you mean my factories in my
your own? I'm thinking about your own because you have quite a lot of heavy mana requirements, and you have you do play 4 basics, which I think is nice, but occasionally this kind of deck, you have so many win cons. So
Dave said the same.
Maybe you should add some force on being able to cast your spells because you have infinite win cons already. So and if your opponent is playing creature and you want defend the ground, you're in a pretty good spot anyway if you're facing creature deck.
No, but factories are always there. Dave said the same, and I love these factories. That they're for free and there are 3 threes. It's like you need to play them, right? Jeff, what do you think?
I think it's a really interesting deck. It's super fun to play. The last time I played something like this, it was more for an old school Highlander type event. 2 questions though. One, I was kind of surprised to not see Old Man of the Sea or something like that, or maybe another outlet to sack creatures. And then also the sitting the bottles in the board. I thought, what are you bringing them in against, and why? Whatever you're going to bring them in against, is there nothing better? Because you have your Diamond Valley, you have your 2 cities, you have your library. I just didn't know if you needed those.
No, again, I agree there because the decks that sit in a bottle are good against your almost pre-boarded deck because you have 4 stores, you have your preachers, you have Rubinia Soulstars.
That's true. The only reason why I could run the city in a bottle is when I expect a super aggressive Arabian aggro, but I have 4 swords, 2 preachers, 2 Rubinias. They probably never have creatures.
And if you want to do that, you should also do the sweet tech by having safe haven in the sideboard, so you can board out your Diamond Valleys when you board in sit in bottles, and then you can add some sweet safe haven tech.
Oh, that's quite cool. Oh, we didn't.
Or City of Shadows maybe is even better actually.
That's true. We both didn't appear yet on a Brewers Tavern episode. Charles, we need to fix that quickly.
Yeah, I think we need to. so many decks to get recorded.
Safe haven decks is usually more maybe like Ball Lightning decks, I guess. But like City of Shadows could actually be playable here, I guess.
True. That's true. So
Yeah, this is a very solid list because it's 80% of the deck. Right?
exactly. Yeah.
If you want to play a good deck, start with the deck, make it a little worse by adding some spice, and you get episode 51 with this deck. Okay, I think we should go to episode 52.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, we lost Jeff, and Jeff is back.
Yep. Sorry, I don't know what happened.
I don't know either. I guess you need to refresh because we can hear you, but we can't see you.
Yeah, turn your video on.
Sorry, guys.
No problem. You know, last review special, I was recorded just on green screen, like 2 hours. You didn't see me at all.
You're gonna jinx it. Let's look at 52.
Yeah, 52. Green, black, nether void list. I am unsure. I don't want to steal the props for that list. I think that was a list handed in by Patrick Hinnes, a close German friend, and he begged me to play that once on stream. I'm unsure if it was that list. So I would say this is the Patrick Hinnes list and we work from that on. So it is not my own fault. Guys, tell me something about the list.
Where's the sinkhole?
Not needed. No.
Yeah, I played a similar deck to this before, and I like it. It's super fun. My first thought was like, why? I kind of wanted Mana Vault number 4 because I want to ram a Nether Void out pretty quickly if I can. At least I think so. And I think when I played it, I played Juzam, but you don't have to. In addition to maybe Urnums, and then Paralyze is not as good as it seems.
Just to let you know directly, whenever you could play Juzam Jins, I will not play them. I don't like the card at all. It's just not my card. Like, it is cool with that. Yeah, it's so iconic, I know, but
friendship over.
Magnus need to leave. Magnus left the stream. Oh, sad.
Yeah, but I think like this is probably more of an Urnum list than a Juzam list. It also this reminds me quite a bit of what Constantine Plichwin has been teching on in the last few years. So he's been a very big fan of Nether Void lists and similar, and has worked quite a lot in this space. It is actually possible that the Ice Storms here are better than the Sinkholes because like it's easier to get that mana than to get the double black.
Yeah.
This is also a surprisingly good list in Scryings. You don't almost need to change anything, but like this deck, just updating some minor things, like maybe changing the pixels for river bows or something. It's a very high tier list in that format because it takes care of so many of like the artifact and the combo decks and stuff.
That the reason why I have no sinkholes here is because the color. The double black is hard to cast sometimes, turn 2. So I rather play Elf turn 1 and turn 2 an Ice Storm, which I can easily afford because I played Elf turn 1 anyways. That's why I went with Ice Storms instead of Sinkholes. But
I was always thinking of Sinkholes in addition to Ice Storms, but maybe that's too much.
To be fair, then I probably need to cut like the either removal, the Paralyze, or the or pressure creature, and I really think I need 6-10 attacking creatures with Pixie, Sushi, and Urnum to put pressure on my opponent after I slammed Nether Void. Or I need to cut a Nether Void, and this is kind of the signature card. But what you could do is, if you want to play more on the aggressive land destruction part, you can cut a Nether Void and a Paralyze to add 2 more sinkholes. That should easily
or like just cut like the random Sushis for like demonic hordes, which would be insanely sweet.
Yeah, okay, to be fair, that would add a lot of spice to it. Demonic Horde, another card never appeared on Brewers Tavern so far. Charles, we need to work on that. Second work. Charles, you muted yourself.
Yeah, we still have a lot of decks to play, but I mean, the point of Brewers Tavern is to play every reasonably conceivable Swedish deck one time and never repeat a deck. So we will get there with all of them. So I think we just recorded episode 80 I mean, we don't have all of that uploaded yet, but eventually we'll get there. But yeah, these are some cards we have not played yet.
My biggest fear is that I will at some point record a list double and viewers will recognize and will write us, "This is double," and we're like, okay.
Yeah, no, we can't. We can't do that. We can't do that. This is a fun list. Nether Void's always cool. The Paralyze is great. If you happen to be playing against a Guardian Beast deck, Paralyze is really funny because that can tap the beast, and that would be pretty funny, and it'd be hard to necessarily untap it.
To be fair, like, I fell in love with the Pixies. Pixies are so underplayed at the moment, or especially in old school, I think Pixie is one of the best 2-drops you can have. 100%.
Well, it deals with Factory and Suchis, right?
Exactly.
So it's
and with
really
Drykes. You can block Drykes without getting damage.
Yep.
Which is amazing. Are you guys cool with going
Yep.
on to list number 53?
Yep.
Yes.
So here we go. 53. I hope I'm not mistaken because I'm the man in charge for lists. Classy Dead Guy Ale. Black white and all the good black and white cards all together in one deck, shuffle it up, and in the sideboard, my signature sideboard card, whenever I run white, I try to run Witch Hunters. Because I love
Witch Hunter is awesome, but I wouldn't say like you're mashing up all the good black cards when you're playing like 4 Black Knights and 4 Rituals, but you're not playing Underworld Dreams.
That's
like
true.
Black Knight is arguably not really that good a card, I would say, especially not if you have access to both black and white.
My problem with Dreams is sometimes, I mean, I don't need a constant clock in this list because I have so many aggressive creatures which I can either ramp out with Dark Ritual or which I can just slam turn 1 with a Lion, so that I don't need this constant damage. But if I would run Underworld Dreams, I would for sure cut Sinkhole, and the Greed to press in the Underworld Dreams, just to play them. I'm with you 100%. The Underworld Dreams is a black card, which is great, which is missing. I don't
like
Charles just
Black
disappeared.
Knight, I don't really get Black Knight here, like, because it's hard to do like turn 1 7 Alliance, turn 2 Black Knight or something. It's
That's actually quite true, but the Black Knight is one of the few drops where I think it is worth to play it also as a 3-drop, because it has first strike, broad white, and is a 2/2, so it deals basically with every early drop, even as a 3-drop. And I own a repaint of the Black Knight, and at some point I wanted to play it.
Like, no, it doesn't deal with factory dice to like vault. No, but yeah, that's true because you have an actual Black Knight painting at home.
Exactly, so I needed to run it in. Yeah, fair. Got me there, Jeff.
So you answered my question at the beginning about Witch Hunter. It's a really cool card. I like Sarah Angel better in the 5 slot than Sengir, and I don't know if it's because you're concerned about double white when you have double black cards because of the Black Knights and the Hypnotics. I don't know. I also, when I play this style of deck, I mean, maybe this sounds really cliche, but I like to splash blue because it's so easy. You have access to Underground Sea and Tundra. In place of the Greed, I'd play an Ancestral, and sometimes I squeeze in like a Brain Geyser, and like maybe 2 other blue cards or something like that. But maybe that's not what you were going for.
No, actually, it's, as you said, it's easy to do that. But from time to time, I try to build decks which brings new players easy into old school and which are also tournament viable. You know what I mean? It's hard to acquire like full power when you start, plus duels, plus everything. But when you start with a list like that, for example, in Revised and the power IE or CE, or even if you leave out the Moxen and the Lotus, the list is still working. That's why I try to build lists to get new players also into the format. And I don't want to build like every list with full power. You know what? That's why. But you're completely right. You can easily splash power into that list the list just gets stronger. I mean, which deck gets worse when you play Ancestral Recall or Time Walk? Yeah.
But I mean, like from a standpoint of strength, I would argue that this is like a fairly weak build actually of Dead Guy. Like I played like a lot of Dead Guy, and I think this is like 2014 style Dead Guy. There are some like
That hurt my feelings a lot. Mitja left the channel.
Yeah, but there are. I agree. What Jeff says that Serangel is better flyer than Singer, but like even apart from that stuff, like it's a bit inconsequential. Like, do you want to go for the get on plan or do you want to go plan? I think you either. Well, if you play Sinkhole, you probably play 4. And if you go for the get on plan, you could like even possibly play Moat in a deck like this. Because you don't really need maybe the Lions, or at least not the Black Knights in a sense. And there are like variants you can do with a deck like this. And for example, you have a one-off Greed. Greed can be really strong in this deck. But if you want to go like on a Greed plan and take more care of the control matchup or even the burn matchup, this kind of deck could be a deck where Ivory Tower is good in the sideboard. If you play like 2 main deck Greeds and stuff. So this is definitely a deck that is a deck. But I think like if in the same way that if you look like a You Are Burn from an early version of You Are Burn, I think this there are new technology for
if you have a let's say updated version of that list, I would love that you send it to me, because I will try it anyways, because if it's not even close to similar, we will try it. We had that once with a White Weenie list where I run the Claries of the Holy Nimbus, and Dave was like, bro, are you living in 2012? What is wrong with you?
Yes. Yeah, I think like maybe the best version of Dead Guy today is probably the Party Crasher, as I call it, which is a deck that Mount Steb played to a good finish last year, and I played it a bit. I can send over some lists. I think that could be fun.
Great.
If you haven't played the Party Crasher, it could be really cool to have
that
on the.
Would be nice.
Yeah.
Anything else to say about the list?
I think we go to the next one.
Okay. Cool, and here's the next one. List 54. Oh, a favorite of mine. Fungosaur, Rod of Ruin, Living Plains. That was cool. I love that list. I bought the Fungosaurs and Rod of Ruins all at once, and I loved it. Like, Fungosaur is so great. It is so fun to play, and we found out that Triskelion is super bad against Fungosaur. Like, not a little bit bad, it is insanely bad against Fungosaur.
Yeah, I mean, this is the perfect list, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Guys, you can start whenever. Just start. I mean, the deck plan is pretty simple. Growing Fungosaur or kill your opponent's lands, because Living Plane is an amazing card to kill opponent's lands with Timmy's. So, guys, rip it apart. Nothing to say.
It's very close to perfect. Like, I could argue that maybe you have 10 green sources. Maybe would have like a little more. I'm not sure, because it's 11 with the Mox. Like, because you have some double green stuff, and you would really like to play the Birdstone one. So maybe you would like to have like 13 green sources, but I'm not sure. Like, but potentially you could like cut down a factory for a 4th city of brass or something.
But to be fair, if I would cut a factory, I would play a Pendelhaven, because Pendelhaven pumps the sorcerers.
Yes, yeah, that's true. Yeah, cut a factory for Pendelhaven would be possibly the only.
Yeah. Jeff?
This is very close to perfection in my.
Yeah, this is a great. Super cool. I think when I've played, I love the Living Plane, Prodigal Sorcerer piece. I've done that. And I haven't done it with Fungosaur yet. I usually have like a red splash with like Pyrotechnics or something to like zap 4 lands. But this is mine. That's not a Fungosaur deck.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I guess one could argue for the black splash, because like if you're going for black and you're playing a Fungosaur deck, maybe go like a step further and do some like have a 1-off or 2-off pestilence shenanigans. Because like the deck is
Cowboy.
Yeah.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah.
Still on the list. No, I know exactly what you mean. A black splash opens the door wide for a pestilence. I tried that list just to give a sneak peek for what will happen to the BG Fungus Hour list. If you ever, for the viewers now, if you ever want to do a Fungus Hour list, this is the list to go. Don't try the pestilence one. It is not close as strong as this one. That list is really good. Like I tried it, and Charles, right? We had a lot of fun in this video.
It's okay to try something that doesn't work as well. I mean, that's kind of what we're doing too, right?
Yeah.
We're going to put all the decks together, and then you can see how they work, whether they work well or not well. We both love Living Plane, so we play a lot of different versions of this, and it's a very flexible card, right? We have my Tabernacle Caracas deck. We have Timmy's here. We've had one I played, Manos List, with the Falling Stars. There's a lot of different things you can do with this card. It's really a fun card.
Did we have it yet? The Nuke the Shit list? I built something where you try to kill with Set Troll, so you only keep a Set Troll on the board and try to swing through. I don't know if we have it yet, but that one was great as well. So,
this was a fun one.
Yeah.
If there's nothing else to say, let's go to the next list.
Yes. So, next list. Here we are. This is the blue, white, black Preacher list, where I try to... maybe you recognize those Preachers?
Yeah, I see. You update your Preacher since the last list. Very nice.
I play it. I try to steal the creatures of my opponents and sack them into my Fallen Angels to make them grow and swing through. To be fair, since we are doing Brewers Tavern, I fell in love with some cards which I never played before. For example, Fallen Angel is so good as a 5-drop, as a sack outlet, because there are so few sack outlets in Old School Magic. You have, I only know 4: Sacrifice, Ashnod's Altar, the Fallen Angel, and Diamond Valley. Maybe there are more, but these are probably the most efficient ones.
There's a few fringe cards, like
this against City of Shadows, I think is really playable.
Yeah. I do not run it in the list. I don't even own it. So I maybe should fix it. Yeah, I need to fix that issue. Guys, it's up to you. Rip it apart.
Just what are you reanimating with the animate dead? Just do I get your Preacher back, or
you can get either your Preacher back, but keep in mind the animate dead also can reanimate creatures from your opponents. So you steal them, sack them, and reanimate them.
I think this list would be even funnier if it wasn't black as well. I think you can make this list mono white because you can like the only important black card here, I would argue, is Animated and Fallen Angel, which are like the only black cards. Animated can be replaced by Resurrection because card. Yeah. And Fallen Angel, you could have other sack outlets, like maybe the 2 Diamond Valleys are enough, or you could do City of Shadows or something, and then you could build like a mono-white control deck, and then you could play 4 Preachers, 4 Witch Hunters, 2 Sir Angels, and then have like the actual coolest deck in the world, and then play like Moat also, because you win with pinging with Witch Hunter.
Oh, that's quite cool. So I own 4 Resurrection. I have basically all the cards you said. So I think I found my deck for next episode in Brewers.
Yeah, so I love the play style here, but it feels like we don't need to commit to black. We could make it like, and as you mentioned an earlier one, that you occasionally want to show stuff that are a bit cheaper if people want to be able to buy them, and you could probably do this reasonably well and reasonably fun, monocle.
If we're going mono white, can we throw in 1 Sword of the Ages and like an archaeologist just for that?
Yeah, we can do that. We can do that. Everything's there, so yes, I can play it like that.
That's a great one. Yeah, and then you can do like the archaeologist Sword of the Ages, and you also have like the archaeologist Chaos Orb combo and stuff going on, and you have the 2 Armageddons. maybe up that to 3, and then you have like mono white Witch Hunter Preacher Control, which is like the new tier 1 deck for old school.
I don't see that, but sorry, Charles. Yeah,
It's definitely different enough that, and Resurrection's not appeared yet.
Yeah.
So even though I played a bunch of Reanimators list, so yeah, that has to be on our list to get that recorded.
100%. Yeah, we're building more decks while we're talking about the old ones. I like that one.
I mean, I have over 100 lists right now ready to go, and we release 2 per week, Sundays and Thursdays. So I have more than the next year, but we could always add more.
Yeah.
Good.
I mean, everyone told me when I started Old School Magic, bro, you're starting a format which is fixed already. Why are you doing that? See, there is nothing fixed already. Nothing fixed. We just invented the new tier 1 deck. So, let's move on to the next list. It is called Jin Edge. To be fair, the list was not great to play. I need to work on that one. I tried to make a Lens Edge deck working with a land tax, the Jalum Toms and Jins to put pressure on and stuff like that, draw more cards and finish it up with Lens Edge. I don't know what I played against, but it was not great. Like I didn't win a lot with it. So,
I like to see that my old acetone cards get some love when you're actually playing that.
yeah, I told you so.
Yeah.
No,
And the classic American style of having 2 Circle of Protection red in the sideboard also.
Props to you guys. Yeah, to be fair, if I would build the list again, I would add either 1 Lens Edge more or go with another draw engine. I don't know, I don't know what it was which lacked when I played this list, but it was just not feeling, like as a list, it felt more like so many different plans and it just didn't work out.
Yeah, like I think one problem in general with like land tax lists is that either you have you should either have like a lot of win cons or almost like the sweet spot is to have like 0 to 1 win cons. So like either you just win with like Felon's Cane or like a 1-off Lens Edge, or you have like 8 win cons or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Here you kind of have like 3 in a sense, and they're also a little different. So that could be a thing. And then in land tax lists, I really like Winds of Change.
Oh, that's true. Oh yeah, I'm missing that one. Jeff, you're saying yes to Winds of Change?
Yeah, totally. Winds of Change is amazing with land tax.
Yeah, I should have done that. 100%. From time to time. Yeah, Charles.
We did play I think I played the Randy Bueller style Land's Edge land tax deck, which has one of those. I think Mitja was trying to do something a little bit different. I mean, I like the Serendipitous and Aladdin.
I think that's cool.
You use the disadvantage. You have plenty of lands that aren't islands, and use the disadvantage of having to sack a land to try to be able to land tax. So I kind of like that play. I think it's kind of cute.
Yeah, I agree. It's very it's cool check, like at least in a vacuum. But then I think if that's your game plan, then I maybe commit even harder to.
Yeah, and that's Akos's list. We do play that the blue-white with 4 of the Serendipitous, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, a draft that needs a little bit of work. I will say that the Jalum Tomes, whatever decks Mitja and I play them, they're always superstar cards.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know why people are playing them more in Old School Magic. This card is amazing. Like, it is so strong, and it never felt bad to activate it. I just like the card.
I like that land tax that looks like it's signed by Magnus. That looks pretty cool.
So the story there is like when I first started playing Old School way back, I was was a fairly poor student, and Kalle, who I played with, he worked so he had like a bit more economy to buy fancy cards. So he tried to build something all black bordered, and I was like, okay, so screw you. Then I'm gonna play all white bordered. So that is why I acetoned like a bunch of my cards. So and then Mitja traded those with me, like a lot of them, late last autumn or early in winter. So if you saw his preachers, those were from my white border white weenie. And then you have the Jalum Tomb, that's whiteboard, is also one of mine. That is really stupid card to whiteboard because it is in Chronicles, where you can actually hit it with, the anvil and everything. And then you have the land tax there, of course, which does have, the Legends mark if you look for it. It's not the 4th edition one, it's actually an antique one. And then I also, we drank a bunch of whiskey when we had a trade, so I altered that one to an Enchant World for you, Mitja.
Yeah, exactly. And there was a Thunder Spirit. When I released the list with the Thunder Spirit, we got several comments under the video. How do you have a whiteboarded Thunder Spirit? And I was like, guys, it is just Robert, it is just whiteboarded. So I got it from a friend and I play it because I promised to play it and I will keep it for myself. They were like, oh, okay, I see. And I was like, yeah, sure. I play these whiteboarded fakes from back when. So let's move on to the next list. Here we go. This is list number 57, Granite Gargoyle, red, blue, green. Guys, it's up to you. Tell me what you think about the deck. Whoever wants to start.
I want to add another Sylvan and throw in a couple of Sinbads.
That's quite cool, to be fair. I did it this is how my land deck started when I played Magnus List. The what is it called? Sinbad, Silver Library, Blue Green, Fantasy.
Island.
Yeah, exactly. And this is how my land deck started. And you're right, Sinbad is a so cool card. I could easily cut the Elfish Archers to play Sinbods. 100%. Yeah, with you. Could do that. Anything else?
I love 4 Grand Gargoyle, of course. I'm a huge fan of that card. Super fun to see, and it's I never played list with 4, but when I play 2 or stuff, because I only have 2 right now, they don't get killed fast enough. It's not like when you play in Relic Spectre or something where they will actively try to bolt it or Demonic Tour for Chaos Orb or whatever. And then, if they don't kill it, and then they realize, around turn 6 that, okay, I need to kill this, then it's really hard to kill it, because it doesn't have to bolt anymore, and it's, it blocks, from when you land it starts blocking Surrender Befriets, and then, in the late game, it starts blocking Yusems and stuff, so it's, I really like the card, and I think the art is cool, and just like a pet card of mine.
Also heavily underplayed in old school Magic. Whoever wants to try Granite Gargoyle, I'm amazed. This card is really good. Really, really good. And Flyer in red is pretty rare. I mean, there's in Unlimited, you only have Rock of Carriages and that guy, right? And Shivan for sure, but
and
around
Dragonwell.
4-drop. You only have those 2.
Dragonwell also.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Dragonwell, that's right. But I really like the Granite Gargoyle. It turned out to be super strong, right, Charles? I mean, also in the match we played it, right?
It was also, we haven't seen the card, so it's nice to see a playset of a card we hadn't seen up until this point. And it's pretty good because you can pump the toughness so bolts won't affect it after you have enough mana.
Yeah.
I like the one Berserk. That I think you got me on. It was unexpected. I wasn't expecting that, so that's a fun one of just to throw in the deck.
With the list I'm running here, I try to stick with a kind of RG Beats list and add just the blue power for Time Walk and Twister. And kill fast. I mean, strike hard, strike fast. You know how it is. And to be fair, the Granite Gargoyles help because the flying is pretty amazing. They're really, really strong. And as Magnus mentioned, no one tries to kill them because it's like a 2-3. And it does basically nothing, and in the end, it turns out well.
One question I had.
Yeah,
sorry.
sure.
Sure, yeah.
How are the crumbles for you compared to the shatters? Right, I see you have a split, and obviously crumbles 1 mana. It can't be blue blasted. It's great at killing factories and instant speed. Did you feel like you wanted more shatters, or you were good with the split?
Normally, if I can, I play the split for 2 reasons. Normally, 4 life is not mattering a lot. And if you crumble the sushi, and you can take out speed with the crumbles, because you can crumble moxes for 0 life. So when your opponent starts with land, mox go, you can crumble turn 1 the mox, and he's still on 1 land. You know what I mean? And that got so many people, and as you said, it kills factory mana efficient. It is not blue blastable. So that's why I'm really happy with the crumbles here. I would stick with the split if I can. They were great.
Final thing, and I think that's a really good question also. So, but final thing, I don't get the berserk. Because wouldn't like a giant growth be as good in most cases here, or like particularly if you're playing earn and burn 'em, like at least 1 fireball, maybe 2 is usually kind of good. So the berserk, like in a vacuum here, would at best be like +4/+0 to earn them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you need to keep in mind it is instant speed, and when you attack with 2 creatures, it deals like the worst case scenario is you attack with, let's say, an Elfish Archer and earn him. He blocks the earn him and takes the Elfish Archer. But with the Berserk, it is basically a second Psyblast, and you play 2 draw 7s. And normally the list is super low in mana, so the Fireball also only deals 4 damage or 5. You know what I mean?
I think it feels like even if you just want to have that combat trick, it feels like Giant Growth is better here. Because like then, for example, like if you're often playing, say, Serra Angel or Strand Befriets or something like that, then you can kill them with Gargoyle with the pump from Giant Growth, but you can't do that without killing the Gargoyle with the Berserk.
But you and the Archers, will juice them. You can pump it. You can pump your opponent's creatures with the Berserk, block with the Gargoyle, and pump the Gargoyle.
Yeah, if you have like, okay, so your opponent attacks with Serra Angel and you pump that with the Berserk, so it's like an 8/4, and then you have 7 extra mana to pump red to.
Yeah, that sounds weird. And okay, I can see that will probably never happen, but you can easily take 8 damage. Because you're the aggressive deck anyways.
Or you could just use Giant Growth. I mean, like,
Or I can just use Fireball to kill Serra Angel. Okay, I see.
Yeah. Do you just play Berserk because it's expensive, Mitja, and you want to show people that you have expensive cards?
Yeah, that was the case here, lol. I just need to show my Berserks at some point. Okay, go on.
I like Bloodlust too in some of these lists. I mean, I know you're probably trying to keep it to 1 mana, but sometimes I've run some red-green rug decks with a little bit of Bloodlust, and it can be pretty good.
Oh, yeah, right. Bloodlust would be also a cool card here.
They attack with their Jazam into your Elvish Archers. You Bloodlust their,
Yeah, I agree. Like I would play probably Bloodlust over Berserker. Yeah. I'm not sure if I would play Bloodlust over Fireball or Giant Growth, but I think Bloodlust is better than
That's true. That's actually true. So let's move on to the next list, 58. Here we go. A list I liked a lot. I called it Bug Dreams. So black, blue, green dreams. The killing plan is here basically the same as in the Parfait list with Field of Dreams, the Millstone. But I have I run 0 creatures beside the Guardian Beast. Where is it? Can't see it yet. Do I run 0 creatures? I thought I had Guardian Beast in that list. I run 0 creatures as it looks, but therefore Abyss. So I try to control the board with Relic Barrier, Terror in the sideboard, Abyss in the main board, and Factories and Icy Manipulators. And kill my opponent by slowly grinding his library. yeah. This was the deck plan here, and it was quite fun to play, to be fair. I like that list. Yeah, go on, rip it apart. Nothing to say.
I don't know how other people feel, but like I love the Relic Barrier Howling Mine combo, and I always feel that like if I have 4 Howling Mines in a deck, if I'm playing Relic Barrier and it's less than 4, I feel like I'm doing it wrong. And I don't know if that's really the case. But...
I agree. That was my only attention as well. I think that you could probably cut the tome and maybe the regrowth.
Winter Orb, yeah. They'd run for...
Maybe not. Like Winter Orb is like really fun to have if you play 4 Relic Barriers and you have Transmute Artifact. So I think I would cut like the regrowth and maybe the Jalum Tome for the last 2 Relic Barriers. Because you're playing a prison deck here, right? And then, worst case scenario... the Relic Barriers will, tap a Mox, or it also defends against the factory. So it's never bad.
Relic Barrier is one of the best removals in old school Magic. As you said, you can tap factories, you can tap Mox, you can tap
and if you play a Howling Mine, Winter Orb, Transmute Artifact deck, I think you can. That could possibly also that I could argue that you would want to add one more Transmute Artifact because the shuffle effect is really good with both Children's Library and Field of Dreams. And then also if you're having this sort of prison setup with the Abyss and stuff, and also play 4 Holy Mines and Transmute Artifact. There is another artifact that combos kind of well with that, which would be Time Vault. So adding one Time Vault here could. But in general, I think that's definitely a list that I could see myself playing. This looks like super fun.
That one is actually quite fun to play. Jeff, yeah?
Yeah, no, I was saying I agree with most of that. I don't know about cutting regrowth though. I think regrowth is strong because if my strip mine's in the yard and my opponent has a library, I want to be able to get that. If someone stripped my library when I had it, I want to get that. If I cast Ancestral Influence in the yard, I want to get that. Maybe even my Time Walk, depending on the situation. Sometimes getting yourself another counterspell when you need it is good. I don't know, it needs more thought. And that actually made me think of, if I'm drawing extra cards with Howling Mine, maybe having a recall in the deck seems good.
The crumble, the one of crumble is also super random. I could easily cut the one of crumble in the main board because there's basically no artifact which I should fear because all the fearful artifacts are tapped by Relic Barrier anyway. So yeah,
that's a very good point. I agree with Jeff also. I actually didn't realize. I think I thought that the Brain Gazer on top was a recall. For some reason, I just looked at the list now. But then if we don't have, you always play Time Twister in the Meltstone deck. And if you don't have any other way to stuff from graveyard, I think that regrowth is a reasonable card to play. Yes.
Yeah. Cool.
It's a really fun list, and I do love seeing the Field of Dreams, Millstone Control. It's really fun. Yeah. Once you get that lockdown, your opponent just never draws another relevant card, and you just win that way. It's a lot of fun to see that.
Yeah.
This was a lot of fun to play against. I'd say let's go to the next list.
Yes, this is a list which I like because I'm that guy who loves to run not only the creature lists, also the tribe lists. And this is a tribe which you should have at least played once in old school Magic. Here we go. Here are the zombies, mono black zombies. One bad card which I should cut is the Headless Horseman. But
no,
how can you cut bad Headless Horseman? How?
Bro. Do you know that Headless Horseman is the reason that old school became a format?
Really? Okay, tell us about it.
No, it was I was in 2000, early 2007, I was a fairly decent internal team with Kalle and a few guys, and we obviously played in Sweden, so I hadn't been to that big things, but it was a national championship, good enough to place well. But I built this horrible we drove deck with Berserks and Pernicious Deeds that Kalle just said this is actually the worst deck ever, and this is the Headless Horseman. Just because he didn't enjoy my creature. And then I figured out I will actually build a Headless Horseman deck, show him. So I went on to Card Kingdom and ordered a bunch of black bordered 93, 94 cards for $100 or something, and then came to him and showed him, and I'm okay, so this is my actual Headless Horseman deck. What do you think? And it was this looks really amazing. I shall also build a deck with cards from that era. And then we start playing, and then that evolved into old school.
And the rest is history, as we say, right?
So, and I mean, like, it's real. Like, Headless Horseman also has like one of the greatest arts in the game. It's a clear, Quentin Hoover circle. It's really cool. The flavor text is really cool. It's nice that they aerated it to a zombie. It's a summon horseman, and it's also the the inspiration for what's called like Huvudturneringen, the main tournament after Newcon, which was something that would translate to the head tournament if you did it properly. So you win a headless horseman at that tournament. So it's like a really cool card, and you almost never see it played. And I think like having a one-off in your zombie list is not something you should cut.
I had the chance to buy the original artwork since I'm collecting a little bit original art, but because I wanted the Legends artwork, and I messaged like a close associate guy just if you have a Legends artwork, and he said he has access to the Headless Horseman, and he would start getting offers for like 14,000 USDs. It was like 2 years ago. And I fell in love with the card, as you said. It's super amazing, and I felt I wanted to play it in my zombie list. Like, with the Zombie Masters, the Cyclopean Mummy, which also got eroded to a zombie, as well as the Walking Deads. The list felt super cool. I mean, it will never ever be the strongest old school list you will ever see on our channel, but it is so flavorful. And with the Cyclopean too, when I play lists like that, the goal is to win at least one game. Like, it doesn't matter how, just win one. And I think I won 1 or 2, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing. Like, if we play a spicy list, and we could do something different and interesting 1 out of 3 games, then we're happy.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
To be fair, it is hard to talk about changes here because there's not a list which you could compare. And I could maybe cut the Headless Horseman for an evil presence in the main board to turn all the to have one more card to turn my opponent's land into a swamp. To attack through when I have the Zombie Master. But beside that, I felt pretty good with the list.
I think the argument is like, do you want to play 4 Single and 4 evil presence and be like that deck? So because like technically you could cut 2 Cyclopean Tombs, maybe 1 of the Blood Moons, and something. And
the
then
Drain Life probably. The Drain Life is with the 5 colorless mana. The Drain Life always feels a little shaky,
It's interesting you mentioned that, because before I spotted the Drain Life in the list, I was like, oh, a Drain Life would be good here. And then, because at least one that tutor it up if you need it. But then I was like looking at all the off-color moxes, and I was wondering if you really needed them. And I was like, they don't help with dreams, fine. Your goal is not to like run out of a Bad Moon or something. I just was wondering, how helpful it was to have those moxes. I mean, sure, you get the mummy up, a turn earlier.
The thing is, the Moxen are in the deck because I want to play the Zombie Master 100% turn 2, and in the sideboard the discs are super important in so many matchups that I want to ramp them out quick, and I basically don't care if I lose a Mox or not, because they're just there to get the tempo out of it and play the disc fast. Or 100%, let's say, turn 1 or 2 with the Dark Rituals. So that's why I went with all the Mox power. I know I could easily change that because the list gets a little bit weaker in the main board in game 1 with all the Mox power. But in the sideboard, it gets a lot of benefit out of the Moxen. And you need to sideboard a lot with that list. I mean, to be fair, game 1 is probably always a loss. Like, I've won probably 0 game 1s, but maybe the viewers know better than we do, Charles and I, because we're recording so much. It's like,
the 2 things I'll say about this list is we've had some white weenie list with Crusade, and I do love seeing a list with Bad Moon.
Yeah.
That's fun to see. And I do think it's very important that we show not just dual land decks, but monocolor decks as well on the channel. And this is a different and interesting mono black list. So, and you definitely love playing the tribal list.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
I love tribals.
A monocolor deck with 5 moxes.
Yeah, true. But this is something you can easily replace.
All right, cool deck. Let's look at the next list, Mitja.
Yeah, exactly. Let's move on. The next list, here we are. It is called Mono Green Bees. I own 4 killer bees. This is what I want to show. Killer bees. Boom. Here we go. Aggressive green. Try to make it as aggressive as I can. Yeah. Good that Dave is not here.
No, I have some. I could have some feedback here as well. I feel. First of all, why are you playing 4 factories and a bunch of Moxen in all your decks, even the spice ones? This is
because they are so good, and I want to say something with it. It is kind of like a statement.
No, but in general, I think that. In a beast list, which was very long since I tried to killer beast list, but I think one of the core cards, if you want to go beast, is to play a bunch of forests, which can sound reasonably obvious, in retrospect.
Yeah, because you pump the bee.
Yeah, but one card that's reasonably or usually very good if you want to play a bunch of forests is Gaia's Touch.
Oh, that's
which it's an enchantment for 2 mana that you can sacrifice to add 2 greens. So from the turn after you played it, it acts ritual when it's in play because
no, to be fair, we had a list up on the review where I played Gaia's Touch and 4 Desert Twister. So I stored my mana for 2 turns in Gaia's Touch, and Charles and I were amazed how good this card is actually.
Yeah, it's really good because it acts as an expiration for basic forests. So that the core ability is that you can play an extra basic forest every turn.
Yeah.
And then when you have run out of extra basic forests, you can just sacrifice it. So a common play, if you have a lot of 3-drops, here you have killer bees or ice storms or things that you really want to cast, is that on turn 2 you play Gaia's Touch. Then you play an extra basic forest, and then you sacrifice Gaia's Touch. You have 3 mana, and then you also 3-drop on 2 with an extra forest in play.
Yeah, that to be fair.
So this looks like a Gaia's Touch deck.
Yeah, probably. The thing is here, I tried. If I would need to change something here, I would definitely cut the Moxen. I would stick with the factories. Because Factory is still quite good with Giant Growth Berserk shenanigans, when you swing through. Just keep in the deck the on-color Mox, the Lotus, and this is it. And add more forests just to make sure that I always have green to pump the killer bees, because this list lacked really a little bit on pumping the bees. The rest of the list it felt super smooth because it is a creature-based list where you run Giant Growth and Berserk. What could go wrong? And you have a lot of...
Yeah, because basically it's like we mentioned with the Rubinia Soul Singer deck, of good deck, because it's 80% of it deck. And it's 80% of this is Nikita Celeste Mono Green Stompy or Dayford Bard Mono Green Stompy, which is also
100%. The thing is here, when I build lists, I try to steal here a little bit, there a little bit, and add some Mitja spice. This is basically it. To invent really completely 100% new decks is basically impossible in old school. I would say, because there's a lot of stuff is discovered already, but I always try to add some of my parts.
And I think that Killer Beast is an underexplored card.
Yeah, 100%. Killer Beast is, I know it's 3 mana 0/1. That looks super bad, right, Jeff? Spending 3 mana.
I have a mono green deck. It's totally different. It's the I Hate Artifact deck where I'm playing killer bees in it, but 4 Citadel Druids, 4 Scavenger Folk, and everything that says I hate artifacts. But the only thing I have to add to this is when I play a deck like this, and I was thinking of that one in my mind, I like to play like 2, maybe even 3 of Void Fates if I can, especially when I'm on like a giant growth berserk type plan, because Swords to Plowshares is like my worst enemy. Like that's what we want not to happen, and you just blow them out when you have the Void Fate.
That's true, but to be fair, a Void Fate is a card that disappoints me so much. Like whenever I boarded it in, it was just not there, it was bad, it was just not happening. It was like last weekend I played a tournament in London and I played against Jordan Boyle. Game 1, he showed me all the walking creatures like Sedge Troll, Urg Raiders, like super aggressive. Bam, bam, bam. I lost game 1 in like 2 minutes, okay? So I
Jordan
thought I was
played with
smart.
Sedge Trolls? He was on a Sedge Troll list?
1 second, we are not done yet. He was actually on a 16 creatures list, which I don't know at that point. So I thought I'm smart. I bought it in my mode, shuffled up, saw, oh, nice mode. Turn 2, played mode, because I had Mox Power Bird whatsoever and another land. Played mode, and he was like, cool. Dip, Sengia Vampire. I was like, killed in 2 minutes, game 2. He was actually on a list, blue, red, black, with Unholy Strength and Serendip Ifrit. And so his plan was to whatever he puts down is good with Unholy Strength to attack through. Also, like the Sedge Troll will never lose the Unholy Strength. The deck looked super good. It was highly efficient, and I got crushed in like, I don't know, let's say 5 minutes, 2 games, done. Boarding and shuffling included. Like, it was not even close.
But I mean, like, you can't really measure games you play against a player. Like, it's you always lose to Jordan Boyle.
No, actually, there's only one guy who I always lose to, Kalle Nord. He's my worst enemy. Like, I lost every single round against Kalle. Really. But he knows I love him, and it's all cool, but I told him he's my worst enemy. We're done with the mono green list, so let's move on to the... I think this is a spiky version. If you want, we don't need to talk a lot about it, because it's like a blue, red, black, straightforward robot list. Like, we all know that, kind of invented by Leo Bruder. Yeah.
Especially the version with like when I see the stage of Latinam and the anime deads, I'm thinking like Leo Bruder. Like,
yeah, exactly.
What I think is like, and there have been like different takes on this list. I know that Seb Celia placed very high with similar ones, and there have been other players that have placed well. What I think is like fun, and this comes like another stab to our friends overseas, is that this in Swedish rules, this is a very good list, like a tier 1.5, and it has won a lot of tournaments. It's debated new times, and but in Atlantic rules, it's just tier 0.
Yeah.
Because
but only if you have 4 shops.
This list with 4 workshops, it gets ridiculous.
Yeah,
I would say.
exactly. You can cut the garbage mana.
And that's my throwing like throwing some flame or something to the Americans, and I would love to hear some responses or comments on that.
Guys, what do you think? Is this a tier 0 list in Atlantic?
Not sure. I mean, 4 shops, obviously really good, but I don't know. Charlie, it's been a while since I've played a list like this.
I mean, in Atlantic, the shops is just it's a tier 1 list for sure. It's not going to win every tournament, but it doesn't win every tournament. It's not. I mean, 4 shops is for one, but 4 shops definitely has the advantage in the game 1s. But there's so much artifact hate. It's a different environment with dust to dust and energy fluxes. And divine offerings on your big robots. Your game, divine offering on a Suchi is 4. It's big, and there's mana burn, so you could have an 8-point swing right there. So shops is really good in Atlantic, but it's not winning every tournament. But this is
the meta, of course, reacts to having the deck so much more powerful sense. Then you would play more artifact hate. Of course, yeah, that makes sense.
Right, for sure. You have to be prepared for shops if you want to be competitive in Atlantic, and that makes shops difficult. But not everybody owns 4 shops, so you can play a whole tournament and not see tons of people. Not everybody has 4 workshops to play with, so I think that.
I traded for my last 2 shops with Mitja a few months back, and they said, "Oh, now we have the card play Atlantic."
To be fair, guys, before we started the recording, Magnus and we were just chatting for like 20 minutes, and we were run a little late. Anyways, I was saying, whatever happens, like the reason why shop is not like super hot is because not everyone has like 4 shops. Otherwise, a lot of more, there would be way more people running shops. 100%. I'm really thinking shops is the best deck in Atlantic, to be fair. This is just my opinion. Dave would probably not agree here.
No. Dave is like the fourth scavenger folks main kind of guy, I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
no, but this is going back to this. I think it's really cool, and like the Leo Bluder, I think his average finish on Fish Liver Oil is something like 3rd or something. Playing in 3 or 4 tournaments, he's always like top 4ing or something with similar to this.
He really mastered that list. He really.
Yeah, he's like a true master of this. So hail Legion Urborg.
Yeah. Christian will appreciate here.
Yeah, I don't think this is a solid list. We know this robots list in Swedish. I think we can go on to, unless Jeff, you have a comment. I think this is one we all know more of.
Straightforward.
Yep, let's go to the next list.
And here we are, list 62. It is basically, I call it Dave Weenie because as I mentioned before, I showed my version of White Weenie and he was like, "Bro, we're not in 2000 and whatsoever." So I said, "Okay, what do you want me to change?" And this is basically his White Weenie list, which he said you need Benalish Hero, you need Mesa Pegasus, you need Army of Allah. Crusade was in the list before, sorry. And yeah. Sorry?
You have Crusades. You have 4 Crusades.
Yeah. And like he said, play the list like that. This is the way better list, and he was completely right. Like the list I played before had the Tundra Wolves and the Knights of the Holy Claries of the Holy Nimbus. And to be fair, Mesa Pegasus and Benalish Hero are just way better. Banding is so good and highly undervalued or underplayed. When whoever wants to start a monocolored deck, just my opinion, start with mono white. Mono white is the strongest monocolored list in my opinion.
And it's the simplest if you're just starting.
Yeah.
It's very simple. Right? It has all the removals, so it's very easy to learn which cards remove what cards. So it's very simple. What do you guys think of this list?
I mean, seems solid. I haven't really played a Swedish White Weenie list before. It's very different in Atlantic.
That's true. In Atlantic, you get the Javelos and the orders, right?
Yeah, that's right. So I've never played, for example, in Atlantic, I've never played with Mesa Pegasus or Benalish Hero, but I know banding can be just completely busted at times, and it seems very solid. I mean, I've also debated a lot when I've done White Weenie, like how many, like Army of Allah. It's been like amazing. A lot of times, like take an extra 8. It's like what? Or it's more like really they throw a block out there. It's like, all right, kill your guy and then take an extra 6 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Completely. I could like. I would like if I think this list is extremely solid. Maybe just to start with that. Like I think this is a very, very good. Maybe we could cut up to 2 Crusades. I think that could be the thing, and then like because or have a 3-3 split between Crusades and Army of Allah, because Army of Allah usually wins you the game because they don't really see it coming. and having how many creatures do we have? We have 20. Yeah, 20. I guess 20 is fine if you have factories.
Yeah.
But like, yeah.
No,
I
actually,
think this is very, very close to perfection, as White Winning goes.
yeah. This
rules.
deck is actually the reason why I got back into Alpha 40 and started playing Mono White completely. This was... I needed to say it because, like, the Benalish Hero and Mesa Pegasus, I fell in love with old school with them playing old school Magic, and then Alpha 40 just turned out to be...
That was, like, one of the latest cards I bought was actually Beta Mesa Pegasus, because I didn't have the Blackboard, and I bought two just the other day for like €6 each or something. And
Yeah, they are worth zeros.
yeah, they're like very reasonably priced, and if you look at things that Emerald Dragonfly or something, or sprites can actually top 8 large tournaments, and I think that Mesa Pegasus, like, of course it's not green, it's white, but it's a better card.
But Magnus, actually a Mesa Pegasus won the NoobCon once as a token out of the Scrying how's it called?
Oh, that's true. That's true. Noobcom 1 was one of my Mesa Pegasus tokens. Another thing with White Wings, I would argue that maybe, but it's a matter of taste, but I like to play 2 Serangels. Just to have like an end game. So I would probably cut, I don't know, like 2 Crusades for and maybe 1 Thunder Spirit for, let's say, 2 Serangels and 1 Army for Law. But it's more like a playstyle thing. I'm not sure if it's correct, but
back in previous episodes we had a list which I called White Weenie, and I think it was Gordon or Dave who said, "This is not Weenie at all, you play white mid-range." And I was like, okay, sure, because I had like Witch Hunters, Sarah Angels and stuff like that. So this time I tried to stick really with Weenie creatures, as it should be, like, and no end game there, because there is no end game. I'm the end game, like turn 4 kill or bust. But yeah, the deck was really nice to play. I would say
It was tough to
yeah.
was tough to play against. And yep, let's move to the next list.
Let's move on. And here we are with something I said which would come up. Black and green Fungusaur. Guys.
Yep. With the pestilence.
Yeah. And deserts this time, because I had 0 Prodigal Sorcerers ready. Really wanted to stick with the black and green.
Yes, I played this list. I tried to build the black and green Fungusaur list to the level that at some point I actually forbid the Fungusaurs. You will start with unlimited, but I just fall in love with the list, so you want to start blackboarding. So I played this similar lists a bit, at least. I think this is a pretty nice take. There are some things that I feel are like I would play 4 Pestilence for, and I would probably play Underworld Dreams, and I don't really get the Giant Growth, and there are like a few things there. So this is a list that is very fun to play, but hard to get to the point that it wins a bit more than it loses. This is a 2-3 list when you get it to work. It's not a 3 list.
That's actually right. It is a 2-3 list, and to be fair, the Giant Groves I had in there because I wanted to pump my Hypnotics to keep them alive under the Pestilence. You're right, I maybe should have run more Pestilence because the card is quite amazing. But yeah, like I said, or like you mentioned so far, Giant Groves feel a little off, and I should have run more Pestilence, 100% sure. But a card which I loved in that list is the bird, because it makes me way faster. It makes the bird makes your 4-drops 3-drops and your 5-drops 4-drops. You know what I mean? I don't know how to say it proper in English, but yeah, like the birds were quite amazing, and the deserts as well, because dealing a damage to an attacking creature is quite cool when you attack with your Fungusaur and shoot it yourself. So yeah, that the list as it is not the strongest old school list, but a solid 2-3 is possible. Jeff?
I don't know. I'm shocked that this thing gets to 2-3. I don't know.
Probably not this list. I'm just saying general fungus.
You say his list is
like 4 Rod of Ruin, 4 Giant Growth, Fungus or
Gargoyle is just badass looking, right? First of all, so the fact that you're playing for him is cool. It's a spicy deck. I just look at it, and to me the deck seems confused because you just were saying how you like birds, and I get the acceleration, but the first 2 cards I see in the list are like birds next to pestilence. To me, that's an identity crisis. And then I feel like Fungusaur without Prodigal Sorcerer is just wrong because like my thought is like, okay, the deck's plan is to spend 4 mana, drop a 2/2 creature, then take the next whole turn to spend 4 mana and drop a Rod of Ruin, and then the next turn use half your mana to just ping your Fungusaur or something like that to get it. It's like, all right, in 9 turns you'll eventually do something. That's going to be undone by the Plowshares. And then if you go heavier Pestilence, I don't know, is Whirling Dervish worth playing? I don't know, just because it's pro black, maybe not. I don't know, maybe it gets in there and gets bigger because
you're right. Yeah, you probably found the worst deck mistake ever. Like I should have. It's not that I don't own the card. I mean, I just didn't think about it. I could easily cut the Giant Growths, which are completely worthless, and play Whirling Dervish, which will never die against Pestilence, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not just that. Like, Whirling Dervish helps keep Pestilence on the board, right?
Fair point. I tried to fight for my Giant Growths here. Give me a second.
No, sorry.
no
That's
point.
actually me accidentally because I have a list that I think is reasonable that I posted a link to, which is no, actually me.
But a Whirling Dervish could be good. I said could, so I didn't test it yet, so who knows how it turns out in a list like that with Pestilence. No one.
And the other question is, like, if you're, I wonder if you have dervishes in, do you cut a forest and play 1 Pendelhaven? And then do birds become some kind of elves? Either,
Yeah, 100%, yeah. If
I post an image in the chat, which I know is like super bad if we're on YouTube, but that's the 3-2 list for doing this.
I can't check it because if I change something at the setup, it will all blow up. We tried that as well, and it blew up. So.
Very short. Rather than playing like bad cards, play stuff that gains you life on top.
That's true.
Okay, so I think we move on. Nice to see 4 Rod of Ruins in a deck. That's pretty cool. And I'd say let's move on to the next list because I think we still have 11 left.
I don't know actually. This is White Stacks. This is what I know. Deck list number 64. No, 64. Yes. I called it White Stacks. The deck plan is pretty simple. Play land tags, play Ivory Tower, control the board with Winter Orbs, Holding Mines. This time I think I play 3 Relic Barriers and 2 Icy Manipulators. I could easily cut 1 small book to play a Relic Barrier over it. I play a Library of Lang to make the Ivory Towers worth more. And yeah, this is basically the list. Oh, I also have the Ecologists ready for a Chaos Orb block, which is also heavily underplayed because you can play not only a Guardian Beast Chaos Orb block, you can also play a mono white Chaos Orb block with the Ecologists. Not that common, it is quite rare to see, and that's why I tried it. And Island Sanctuary was not that good at all. But the list won. I think I won this episode with the list. Guys, it's up to you.
So this is this is Gauntlet Chaos. When you play shops so much mana ramp and colorless things, and especially with the Archaeologist, I think that Gauntlet of Chaos could be really good here.
Also a card not appeared yet on Brewers Tavern.
Oh.
Hashtag not appeared on Brewers Tavern yet. So yeah, Gauntlet of Chaos, I can see it in that list, that's right. Jeff, anything to say about it? I mean, it's a pretty basic stacks, mono white stacks list, so I try to spice it up with the Archaeologists and the Chaos Orb, to be fair.
I mean, Archaeologist is super spicy. I love that card. I don't know. I think the obvious one you already covered, which is Relic Barrier number 4, I think made sense to me. If you're keeping this monocolor, I'm not sure what else I would change. How good was the library of Lang for you? Because it seems to me like you would need the library plus an ivory tower plus like a whole bunch of cards. I guess you have land tax, and that's the whole point.
To be fair, since we recorded this episode, it passed some time, and I have no idea if it was good or bad. I could lie and say, yeah, it was amazing or it was super bad. I just don't know it at that point. To be fair, in this kind of deck plan, you also might replace that one and just stick with 3 life every round with the ivory tower instead of getting like 5 or 6 or 7. You're right. Like when you look at the list as it is with just on the bubble and need to say something about the cards, I would probably cut either the library or the small tom, to replace it with a Relic Barrier or with something else, just to make it more solid. But in my head, it felt right to play at least once the library with the ivory towers to stack it up.
Did the Winter Orb work well here?
Yeah, I think the Winter Orb worked really well. The thing is, when you play Winter Orb, it doesn't matter in which list, it is all about the timing. So you try to make your opponent tap out at least once, play the Winter Orb, then you're good. Like, then you control the board and you will probably win that game, as always with Winter Orb. But yeah, it felt quite solid. Another card which I remember felt off was the Island Sanctuary. The Island Sanctuary, this is a card, when you read it, it looks so strong, like opponent can't attack anymore, you skip your draw, yeah, blah blah, skipping draw, who cares about drawing cards in Magic? But to be fair, even with 4 Holding Mines, the Island Sanctuary felt a little bit out of, where I wanted to go.
I only think that card is good in the Chains of Mephistopheles deck, because then you can use that as a win con when you get close to both players decking themselves. Otherwise, I just don't see another really use for it. Good.
It's one and draft also. Like if you're drafting old school, but it's if you get an early pick on Island Sanctuary Cube, there are a lot of decks that just can't win against it.
Yeah, but it.
Better in there to just like swap out the Island Sanctuary for the moat. Like you have moats in the board. How are you?
Probably.
I guess you have the 4 tiles.
Maybe even a Wrath of God is better than a Island Sanctuary, just to erase everything on the board at least once, and then you're good to go. You know what I mean? But yeah, like since we're only running lists once, I'm not the master of the mono white stacks list. It felt good as it is, but I would do some smaller changes, to be fair.
I think it's a really cool list. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I say let's go to the next list. Nice list for this episode.
Guys.
I also like just one quick question. Is that actually an Alden's Ring in the list?
Where?
Between the Archaeologist and the Ivory Tower?
Of course, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool. Okay, so this is a 10 out of 10.
Another win condition. Also, you get it back with Archaeologist, and the thing is, you want to go to the really late game anyways. So Aladdin's Ring is quite cool to win games with. Guys, I will introduce you to the next list, but I need to go really quick to the toilets. So we will go to the Eternal Inferno list.
Just put it on the screen and we'll talk about it.
Exactly. I will be back in 1 minute.
Oh.
Don't hit me.
Now we can all trash talk Mitja when he's away, right? Because he didn't know how to edit it, so he's got to keep this in.
Yeah, he definitely had a couple. I forgot what the red creature is, but that is pretty unplayable. I think he sideboarded it out.
Yeah, a rated Berserker. Fun fact there is that, like this, the typesetting they used couldn't take that Norwegian A letter, so it's just written as Rothy Berserker rather than a Rothy Berserker. That only is true for, the title, but not the flavor text. So in the flavor text it says correctly a rate. But the fact that it says like this is a rated Berserker came up with a plane of whether Roth or Wraith, which was, the core setting for the Tempest block, aka the Roth cycle. So that's my random trivia about that card. But it's a horrible card. It's a 2/4 Rampage 3, I think, for 5.
What's the card above it again?
Sorry?
What card is above it?
It's the Eternal Flame. That's actually not unplayable.
What does that do again? Just remind me. I don't remember.
Let me see. Also, I'm not sure. I don't want to lie. So, Eternal Flame does an amount of damage to your opponent equal to the number of mountains you control, but it also does half that amount of damage to you, rounding up. So, damage equal to your mountains to the opponent's face, and then you take half.
I think that's the only time I've ever seen it played, so that was neat.
Sorry?
I don't think I've ever seen it played outside of this episode, ever.
You will not see it again. It wasn't that great.
No, I think I actually made a blog post just called like Eternal Flames or something in 2013 or something. Because it was fairly popular for a short while in just like Mono Red Burn in Sweden like 10 years ago. But it's from the dark, right? Like there are not that many good cards from. It's fun. I mean, it's a better card than Aerated for sure, but it's not like a card.
I would say it's at least in the top 5 of good red cards out of the dark. You have Blood Moon on 1, Ball Lightning on 2, Brothers of Fire on 3, a random other card on 4, which I do not remember, and then there's directly Eternal.
Yeah, like Inferno, which you're playing in your.
Oh yeah.
It's not the dark, which is arguably up there.
To be fair, I really want to break the card Inferno because I think it is so good. It is doing some unusual stuff which red normally doesn't do. It is instant speed. It is it is.
I think it's
bro. It's like the least instant of every. It's like why? How is this?
Yeah.
I mean, that use of that
like surprise Inferno.
The Inferno card was from a deck that I played my mono red list in the last review special, which is you pair it with Suchi. So Suchis tend to die in the attack step, and you have 4 Suchi mana that you could do nothing with it. And if you're playing a red burn or any type of burn list, you have a 4 mana discount off of a 7 mana instant Inferno. So only for 3 mana, you can wipe every ground creature, flying creature, and deal 6 damage to both players. And if you're playing a burn list, that's a pretty good deal right there.
Jesus, that's insanely brilliant, Charles.
Yeah, see, I think you got it all wrong, Charlie. I think you put the Inferno in your Orcish Artillery, Inferno, Cop Red, Brothers of Fire deck. I think that's what you take to the next event.
This is also something, since I own like 2 Brothers of Fires now, I will also make those appear in an episode because the brothers are quite cool.
If you want to know how you really use the Inferno, it's paired with Suchi and some type of burn list in the attack step. But still fun to see it here. I mean, this is why you play not only the full Moxen Lotus Soul Ring, but you also have a playset of Felwar Stone. So I'm guessing that's just to try to get up to be able to cast Inferno. So you're dedicating a lot.
I think Charles, your deck idea with that Sushi casting Inferno for like 3 mana was really brilliant. Like it was really great. Props out to you. Sorry, like I did this. I have 2 screens.
I don't know where that initial idea came from, but it's really good. It's really good, and it really fits well there. I mean, this is another monocolor list. We both like playing monocolor list at some point. Anything else? I think the disharmonies are a lot of fun in the sideboard. Typically, they're really good when you have a Diamond Valley or some way to sack them.
Yeah. So
anything else?
Jeff, anything else about the list, or can we move on to the next list?
Yeah, no. Was there? I obviously missed the fourth Relic Barrier again. That's classic. I love the main deck Red Blast. Right, that's cool. It's just like, all right, screw you. I have the Red Blast. Wrathy Berserker has Rampage, and it's funny because I've never actually been in this. The only time I've ever played a card with Rampage is when like I had Craw Giant and put a lure on it when I was like 12. So it's cool to see Rampage creatures, but I never played.
Fair, when we released this episode, a guy wrote, "You need to play something different, like Mountain Yeti or something, over the Berserker," and I was like, "Yeah, but I own Berserkers, so at some point there's no." For me as a player, it makes zero sense to have cards which I never play. Why should I have them if I don't want to play them? It makes no sense.
I know, but I have green cards too.
Yeah,
I just don't know.
Yeah, but I just wrote, but I have the Berserkers and I love them and I want to play them. And he was like, okay, fair, good point.
Well, I think
I had to drop off for a while. We're still talking about the Berserker.
No, we're about to go to the next list. We're done with this one.
Yeah.
But okay, but quick follow-up. What's your opinion about Frost Giant?
Frost Giant is from Legends, right?
Yeah, it's the not as unplayable era.
Sorry, there was a lag in the audio.
No,
the Berserker is super highly playable? Of course it is.
No, it's slightly less unplayable. It's the Arathi Berserker is a 2/4/5, right, with triple red that has Rampage 3 or something, which is basically it's a vanilla 2/4/4.
To be fair, we will get to the Giants because I will play a Tribal Giant deck as soon as I get my 4 Gauntlets of Might next week. So you will see Hill Giant in a deck.
No,
Frost Giant and sorry? Yeah, Hill Giant, Frost Giant, and two-headed Giant of Throwless. I hope my
4 eyes. Two-headed giant. It's a pun name. It's you pronounce two-headed giant of 4 eyes.
4 oh. But actually, it appears in one of the early Magic books, which is quite cool, as a friend of this main character. Anyways, I read these books. Yes, I'm a nerd, so let's move on. Next list is list number 66. Here we are. I called it Big Red. I had these 2 weeks where I really want to break Inferno without playing Gauntlet of Might. Not the best 2 weeks I had in my whole entire life, but I had them. So, when I have my Gauntlets, we will be back on the Inferno plan, 100%. This
looks like Audun Døsland in Norway's pet deck in a sense.
Yeah.
When I see dragons combined with mana flares, and then you see a bunch of disharmonies, I can't help but think about Audun, and this looks like a spectacular list in my head.
To be fair, I don't know what you think, Jeff, or I know what Charles thinks, but I don't know what Jeff thinks. Disharmony is also a super highly underplayed card. This card is amazing. No, to be fair, it steals opponents' creatures and makes every of your blocks better.
I love Disharmony. It's cool. It's totally underplayed. When we were going back about 10 or 15 lists ago, when we had that deck with the 4 Granite Gargoyles, I had a list that was red-green, and I had Disharmonies in the board. I don't remember if I had one main or something as kind of like a surprise thing, but criminally underplayed. Really, really cool card. Definitely powerful. And this list, every time I see 4 mana flares, I feel like I want to see 4 fireballs. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't need it, but I want to have if I have a mana flare out, I want to draw my X spell.
To be fair, I cutted the 2 fireballs to add 2 infernos, just to to make that work. this card Inferno feels so good. Whenever I read the card Inferno, I think it is so good. It needs to do something in old school Magic. I know it is 7 mana. I know what the card does, but it's instant speed, dealing 6 damage on everything. How can this card be not...
Did you try Earthquake too in this list or no?
No. I didn't try. To be fair, super often I don't even try the lists once. And if they work, they work. And if not, they just don't work. Like, to be fair, like the Brewers Tavern is more like my test laboratory, you know, like for deck ideas and everything. Because when we started the Brewers Tavern thing, Charles and I, we just said we will do that as long as we have fun. Like, we're also doing it for the viewers because, I mean, together 4 people talking about all the decks we did so far and everything acquires a lot of time, of planning and so on. But first things
There's
first.
no way.
Sorry?
There's no way that we could build every deck, work on the deck lists, test it, revise. I mean, that's just impossible because we don't ever play a deck twice. So we do the best we can, but as we say, we're jacks of all trades and masters of none. So that's why we bring we have guests here to say what we did well, what we did not do well, what was spicy. That's just part of the fun.
And I mean, yeah, I think that's so brilliant. Like you're doing what you think is fun. I think that should be like the goal for like content creation or tournament organizing or anything in Magic. Like, what kind of content do you like doing? What kind of tournament would you like to play at?
The initial kind of idea that I was thinking about the Brewers Tavern, it's called Brewers Tavern in the end, but one of the things that, like, it's really nice to watch Magic, but to see the same decks played over and over. I mean, how many episodes do you want to see with a Shops played or the deck or ATOG? So the idea that we're gonna find 2 people, we're gonna go through all of Swedish. We both own pretty much play sets of most of the cards, so we can build all the decks. And it would be really interesting for viewers to be able to watch how all the cards interact and play. And every episode would be interesting and different. Like all of these episodes so far, Mitja hasn't repeated, but we'll definitely get some bogeys in there, and that's kind of part of the fun, though. Anything else?
There was one episode where I had 0 fun. I got a sneak peek for that one. It will be episode number 75 for today. I call it Mitja's Meltdown episode. No, actually, it has a name, and it's not released while we're recording this. But that was the first time I was swearing on camera, and it was like, I was just melting down, and I had this meltdown.
Save the story for when we have.
Okay, when we're at 75, I will tell
on the next deck because we definitely running out a little behind.
Oh yeah.
Next list.
So let's move on to the next list. Here we are, list number 67. I call it 0 Point Army because you play so many 0 mana creatures. So the deck plan is basically slam as many creatures as you can and finish your opponent with Army of Allah. To be fair,
this is a day for a bard list.
Exactly.
I mean, the idea is you really are relying on the draw 7s. Yeah. You can basically empty your hand for free. The armies are awesome, and then you want to refill your hand is hopefully the plan. It's a really fun list. Mitja, I think you had a lot of fun with this one.
Yeah, this was totally my list. It was just aggressive, simple deck plan, simple as I am. You just turn right and swing your opponent, draw 7 lightning bolt.
This is a for board list in the US. That's kind of like in Sweden. I think most people do as Kung Marcus list, or Kung Marcus, the guy who organized the army.
Yeah. Marcus is also a close friend of mine. Like, when I attended the first tournament, I was so drunk, intoxicated. Marcus was like, "I like that guy," and since then our relationship just got better and better and better and better. And at some point, we're just talking like every 2 days or 3 days. So he would play something comparable to this, 100%.
Yeah. He probably would add like blue and not have any red or white because those are good, and then play Enchantation and Unstable Mutation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And also like one card here, I feel like is almost missing is Might Stone. Might Stone is usually kind of good in this.
Oh yeah, it gives +1/+0, right?
All
Right. So
creatures.
the other options, right, are Mightstone or what's the card from the Alpha set? The
Orcish Oriflame.
Orcish
Right.
Oriflame, yeah.
But like both cost 4, and I think that Might Stone is cooler in a sense.
Army of Allah is pretty cool too, though.
I agree. Yeah, for sure. Like this is
No, the list
coolest, but like the problem here is that you have your 6/0/1s, and then you draw an army and you attack for 12. Don't do anything more in that game.
Yeah,
I was glad to see you play the 0 casting cost creatures, try to refill your hand, and then use army to get in there and do some damage.
actually,
That's a fun deck you never get to see.
to be fair, when I saw this list first, I thought, okay, this is good. Like, this will never ever work. Like, I played a kobold list in many episodes before, and the kobolds are amazing. Like, kobolds are way better than people think. But this list, I looked at it and I was like, never ever. This will never ever work. But actually, I won 2 or 3 games with it. Because Army of Allah, you swing in, from time to time you just fake that you have the army, and he tried to block as good as he can, and then you just don't have the army, but you get through with like a White Knight or a Lion or something like that, and deal some damage, and otherwise you kill it, finish it up with the Fireball. The list felt pretty good, to be fair. Jeff, sorry.
I got nothing to say about it. It's just super fun. And I was just thinking about kobolds before. And when I've played these 16 kobolds, I've played them in, decks with 4 gauntlets of might, and like I've gone a mono red style. But I really like Army of Allah is amazing. What I would want to do is I want to cut the White Knights and put in Keldon Warlords, assuming you can support the 4 color.
Yeah, that's right.
Keldon Warlord just seems awesome here. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I have much else to add except this is a really, really cool list. Army of Allah is awesome. So you're swapping, I guess, the double White Knights for the double red Keldons. I mean, I don't know if you want to play Dragon Whelp here. Probably not, I guess. But when I built in mono red with the gauntlets,
yeah,
I played these, and I played, I think I played Dragon Whelps. It's been a long time though.
Yeah, I mean, with the gauntlet, the gauntlet here is a game changer, right? Because then you can make your whelp at least once grow so hard that you just fireball him. This is something people super often don't get, right? Because you can pump your dragon whelp at least once as big as you want, right? It's like a fireball on a stick. But yeah, I think we're done with that list. Let's move on to a list which I really liked a lot to play. You just talked a little bit about this kind of list. Here we go. I call it Protected Artillery. You're right. I should have run Brothers of Fire, because Brothers of Fire with Circle of Protection Red would be amazing. But actually, also this list was quite good, better than I expected it, because Orcish Artillery with Circle of Protection is not only working in Alpha. To be fair, yeah, rip it apart.
Yeah, so this is like almost a course deck, right? Apart from the chain lightnings, arguably replaceable. Everything here is from and the factory. Like most everything is from the gathering. So this could be like if you feel like you have too much money and you want to burn it. This could be like an Alpha Beta AB 4000 kind of deck, that you play in Holland with Durban Denver and stuff. So I think the strategy is really cool. This is like if you will play it in Alpha, as you mentioned, then I think you would like to add some Island Sanctuary, because in Alpha Island Sanctuaries prevents all damage, not just combat damage. So they also prevent damage from Orcish Artillery.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
No, it's like a weirdly good combo in Alpha if you you know, like I had a couple of Orcish artilleries I bought for like 10 or 15 euros a bunch of years ago. So when Unstable came out, the second outset that had a card that says, play card.
Unhinged.
Yeah. Ignore Errata, R&D Secret Lair. So I had this like Ignore it, where I played the Orcish artillery from Alpha, which I bought like
so you had key drops?
Yeah. And then I sold them 2 weeks ago for like 400 euros each. They are. It's a very expensive deck to build in alpha. I guess is my point, but it's still like very fun like this.
But to be fair, if you want to build that in alpha, you want to add more artilleries than 4 because you can. Like there is no limitation. But yeah, the list felt super good. It was super aggressive, of course. I mean. If you want to do the spike switch, you probably switch the copper tablets for the Anks, mainboard, sideboard, and probably cut the copper tablets completely. But at that point, I guess we had 0 copper tablets played, right, Charles?
They appeared in a sideboard of a Dave Firthbar deck to play against control. So I do play. There are in a couple of sideboards against control. They're really good to bring in because you set a clock on that. So, but I don't think they've been in a main just because in even the one ATOG episode we had, I think the copper tablets are just not as good as the Vice Ankh package.
That's true.
So yeah, I think it's the first time that they've appeared in a main. But it's a beautiful list, and it's a lot of fun to see the artillery work with the cop red.
Yeah.
And generally, you do sometimes space burn lists where the cop red can do some. You're pre-boarded for it, which is pretty funny too.
I mean, actually, this deck has kind of like 2 strategies. First strategy is burn aggressively, and the second strategy is in the late game with the artillery. I know it's a 3-drop and not as spicy as in alpha, but when you start with like bolt into wheel into Orcish artillery, you probably win that game because not a lot of people want to get rid of Orcish artilleries when you play them.
Artillery, I think, is like super. Like you can't win a Mishra war against artillery because as soon they can't attack with a Mishra if you have an artillery.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I also want to say that I think really good looking. It's like one of the best sideboards for deck so far, and I also like to see like a whiteboard. And final point also because I love Jeff's points there, but this is an Inferno deck.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what we were saying before, right? Except getting the 7 is probably tough, but I don't know. This deck is missing Time Walk. I think it really wants a Time Walk. I don't know why it's not there.
1 second. Checking.
Let's try to find a Time Walk.
Yeah, it must be there. Somewhere in the land of Europe, somewhere there. No? Why do I not play a Time Walk?
Maybe you don't have a Time Walk.
Time Walk is just bad in the list, Jeff. What do you know? No one plays Time Walk now. You're completely right. I should have run Time Walk.
The only other thing I was thinking, and I don't necessarily think what I'm about to say is like optimal, but I was just thinking like, what if there were more white sources and Cop Red became in some combination of that and Greater Realm of Preservation, and suddenly you were able to blank like a whole bunch of black decks.
That's true, but to be fair, there are not a lot of black decks out at the moment. And also not a lot of black cards. I mean, we're not counting Mind Twist and Demonic because, like, the circle doesn't do anything about those 2 cards. You're right. I could have done that, but I tried the Greater Realm a lot of times, and I was lacking a lot against this mono black lists. I was always lacking the white source. You know what I mean? Like they always have more creatures ready or more black critters ready than I had white sources. I don't know how they did it. It's like with Avoid Fate. I've seen so many great plays with Avoid Fate, but whenever I played Avoid Fate, it avoided nothing. It was my fate, you know what I mean? Like, they killed me immediately whenever I bought it in. Like, there was nothing to do. And it's the same with Greater Realm of Preservation. Whenever I played it, whenever I saw it, it was freaking amazing. Never seen such a great card. And when I played it, it was like, oh, why? Why did I change it?
Well, Mitja, this is great list. I think we need to move on to the next one.
Yes.
This was a lot. Good.
And here we are. I call this blue, green, white aggro. I think a lot of people saw me running that list also on tournaments. I think this was one of the spikier lists. I made some small changes in the sideboard. It has some... I tried to steal some stuff from the Chermak aggro, the Chermak attack. And but when I play blue, I love to play Counterspell and Mana Drain just to protect my critters. Yeah, instead of adding more critters. Yeah, this is the list. Pretty basic. Yeah, you can rip it apart if you want to.
This is probably the most powerful list I've seen that plays Birds of Paradise.
Yeah, to be fair, this is the list I won tournaments with, like where I not top 8'd. I also won the Mountain Madness with it and some other tournaments. And yeah, I love to play birds because I love to cheat on mana drop on the mana drops. You know, like playing bird turn 1, slamming constantly Serendip turn 2 is amazing in old school Magic. It feels like a Delta deck compared to modern Magic. And I can just recommend playing this list. A friend of mine played a kind of similar list. We tweaked about it. Nicolas in Winkelried. He's a guy from Switzerland, and he lost in the quarterfinal against Artifact Aggro against Will McGrain. I hope I pronounced that right. Sorry, Will, if I don't. And this list is quite competitive. Like, the list is really good.
It's cool to see a competitive list with Birds of Paradise, because you usually like Llanowar Elves.
The thing is with the Llanowar Elf, or how I run the birds is
I mean not in this list again. This is a birds list that it looks like a good bird. That's my whole comment.
The list is really powerful, really really good. I can just recommend playing it. The sideboard, to be fair, this is a test sideboard for Brewers Tavern. Normally you run a little bit a different sideboard without Rubinia Soulsinger, without the control magics, without the Whirling Dervishes. So really big changes here, but the rest is similar to what I normally play in tournament lists. Yeah. Any thoughts beside what Magnus said?
Yeah.
I do not like how you put your mocks in different places in this photo. That was terrible. So I do not approve of that.
I will mark that in my calendar because this is kind of funny. When we recorded the first review episodes, Charles always splitted up play sets in the picture. You know, like you had
I had so many complaints. So I like adapted so like I wouldn't hear any more complaints. But since Mitja said that to me, I had to like return the favor. Anything else? This is a very solid list, everyone.
Yeah.
Jeff? Only one issue I have with the list, and it does look very solid. The only issue I have with it is I think Mind Twist should be in there. I think you have 4, 7, 8 sources of black mana. I think it's just too powerful not to put in. Demonic, you can. Maybe that should be in there too. That's debatable. I don't know what you're cutting for those things.
To be fair, the newest version of that list, which also Nicholas ran, cutted Psyblast, cutted 1 Pixie, because Pixie is strong in Swedish, but not as powerful. He played kind of this list in Atlantic because the Pixies are way more powerful in Atlantic than they are in Swedish. But the normal list, or the list now plays only 3 pixies, 0 Psyblast, and added to 2 black cards. And you play, the split is the same. You play 2 cities, 2 savannas. So yeah, the list at the moment plays 1 demonic, 1 mind twist over 1 Psyblast, 1 pixie.
There you go.
Yeah, this is it. So from...
All right, nice list. Let's go to the next.
Yes, and here we are. This is a white-green Gaddon. To be fair, I tested some white-green Legends from Legends because I have them and I really want to play them from time to time. Because as I told you, it makes 0 sense to keep cards which you never play. I played them in the sideboard. Oh, there's Resurrection. I played Resurrection. In the sideboard, 2 Resurrections. Angel Fire? Gabriel Angel Fire is the name, right? And
That's a terrible card, by the way. Gabriel Angel Fire is not a good magic card.
sorry, Magnus, audio is lacking. I see your mouth moving, but I can't hear you.
I know this one guy who like 3 Gabriel Angel Fires just before a tournament. I think it was Noob Comp 2. I was like, yeah, I need to play more Gabriel. Like, he's basically a 4/4 vanilla for 7. And it's like...
but he needs them badly, you know, in his Angel Tribal. Like, to be fair...
Yeah. I think, like, at least you maxed out the Sarah Angels before you start with Gabriel Angel Fire. Because, like, basically Sarah Angel is about twice the abilities of Gabriel Angel Fire and cost like double green less to cast.
That's true. No, but actually I try to build here a super straightforward land destruction green-white Gaddon list, which I think I did, and just tweaked in a few sideboard shenanigans, you know, and yeah, Gabriel Angel Fire is not the best card out there. I approve that. Yeah. I don't know if there's anything more to say about the list. The main board is... I try to keep it pretty simple when it comes to creature-based lists, which are existing already. 12 creatures plus land destruction plus factories is... 16 creatures, I'm sorry. 16 creatures plus land destruction should be more than enough. You try to ramp out with the Llanowar Elves as usual and... cast a quick Urnham or Sarah and win the game. Done. Game plan.
I think the sideboard, if reads are really cool.
Yeah.
They like if you bring them in against don't have ball, they're usually like very strong, and especially if you face something like a multi-deck or Gayford Bar or some like mono green things with 4 script sprites, maybe even up to 4 dragonflies. They can just like completely wreck the board because you know you can't really answer with giant. Just pay 1 more green then. So it can be a really strong sideboard card, at least in like the current meta.
To be fair, this is a magic card which also deals constantly damage. There are just a few in old school Magic, I guess, which deal constantly damage. You have Underworld Dreams, you have Copper Tablet, Ifbif Ifrit, and is there something else which you can just mana efficient? I mean, Brothers of Fire also shoot 1 damage to him and 1 to you, but you know what I mean. Like on mana efficient side,
you showed a few before here, but Witch Hunter, Pestilence, Rod of Ruin. There are like a few.
But Rod of Ruin is not mana efficient, right? Because Rod of Ruin is kind of.
But like at least Witch Hunter.
Yeah.
Pestilence.
Yeah. Witch Hunter. Sorry.
Cursed Land.
Oh, Cursed. Right.
And like Wanderlust, Warp Artifact, Feedback.
Well, I only make Cursed Land is better than those other ones, right? Wanderlust on a creature. Not, I don't know.
No. Like okay, Cursed Land is better than Wanderlust and Feedback, but it's not. Like I'd argue that Warp Artifact is better than Cursed Land.
That's true. But I think.
But it's like they're similar. Like you all for Cursed Land, but you almost all have target for artifact, and it's half the mana cost.
But I think we're done with that list quicker than with others because it's so usual, I would say. Let's move on to the next list.
I'd add a Caracas to that list. That was my only thought.
Sorry?
I'd add a Caracas to that list.
Oh yeah, 100% right. Normally I run always over a Plains a Caracas because in corner cases it's so much better than a Plains, and probably no one will board in Blood Moons against you. No one, because they have a lot of our elves. You know what I mean? Like, you're probably color fixed and no one will board in that stuff. You're completely right. I don't know if you saw it, but in like 90% of my mono white lists, I just play Caracas. Just because you can bounce Solkanar, you can bounce Gwendolyn, you can bounce Tetsuya Mitsawa, like, you know, like the blue, red, black legends.
Yeah, and my only other thought was that, I don't know in a 2-color deck if you really need all 4 cities of brass. I mean, maybe you think that you do. Maybe you can go down to 2 of them.
To be fair, when I build decks, I count the mana symbols and divide it by 2 or 3. It depends. I divide it by 3 when it is a monocolored deck, and I divide it by 2 when it is a more than monocolored deck, so like 2 or 3 colors. And it turned out that I'm evened out on green and white sources, so I badly needed the City of Brass to make sure that I cast fast the Llanowar elves and have enough white to cast on turn 4 the Serra Angel. That's why I play the City of Brass.
Okay, yeah. I thought my concern was only just to at least think about, if it has sitting in a bottle, you have 9 cards in your main deck that randomly get hit by it that don't necessarily need to get hit by it.
That's but
I would agree with Jeff here also, just like this because you don't need to use white mana that much. Like, I can see your point if you play Star Alliance in the deck. But right here, like you want to have green mana for sure, and you want to have green mana turn 2 for sure. White mana you start needing when I really need to pull this thing, or I really need this. That may be like 3, you need 1, and then like maybe turn 5 or 6 you want to have 2, because you want to cast a angle. So I can see the point that you could probably cut down on the cities.
Yeah, so play a split with 2 forests, 2 plains to secure that is probably right. But on that thing, I'm unsure because when I want to start with Llanowar off turn 1 and then play turn 4 the Serra Angel immediately. To be fair.
So maybe I think maybe just like 2 City of Brass either for like maybe 1 Caracas and 1 Pendelhaven.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Pendelhaven would be amazing as well. That's true. Yeah, 100%.
Okay, I think we go to the next list.
Yes, and here we are. This is a mono-white aggro shops. This is how I called it. To be fair, I took all the good white cards, I took all the good artifacts, mixed them together, and here we go. And I added 2 archaeologists, because archaeologists are fucking amazing. And I swear it again on camera. No money for us, Charles. No money for us.
Yeah, we've never seen anything. This is for the love we're recording these.
Exactly.
I also like that you have the Clockwork Avian. I played that in a few lists. That's a card I think is underplayed. A really, really cool card. And I like it that it's in between the 4 casting costs, Suchi, and the 6 Triskelion or Tetravis. So it gives you something there. And you have Juggernauts, which we don't play very much, right? Because they can be bolted besides Wars or Disenchanted. But I think that was a favorite card of all of ours as kids. That card.
To be fair, they get way better with the archaeologists because you can take them back at the end of turn and just play them for 4 mana instead of 6.
I think that's right. And Trites get way better. The archaeologists are really good. So if you're using a bolt on a Juggernaut, that's taking the heat off your archaeologist. They can just bring it right back. So it's a good plan. What do you guys think?
Okay. Okay, so there are a things that I would change here. I would probably add a third Felwar Stone, for example, and as you know, because like a lot of things, like it's almost like a 1-2. You want to have 4 mana, because you have the sushis, you have the juggernauts, you have like a bunch of things, and then it's like a cannon mana intensive deck because you're playing archaeologists, so you always want to have like 3 active factors or something. So I would argue this is a deck that could benefit from 3 Felwar Stone. And then you have 4 Tetravus, 2 Triskelions. No, sorry, 2 Tetravus and 4 Triskelions, and the Avian, and you have all these out the sideboard, which makes you think that we could probably play 2 Teller's Coffin main deck because that's creature removal, or we have the. And then finally, as spice nerd that I like to be, when you play a bunch of Johns. And you play archaeologists.
Sorry, 1 second. Can you repeat that? What you said, because the audio was really lacking. It was.
Sorry. Yeah. When you play Disenchant's main deck and you have the archaeologist, but don't really creature removal, playing a card like Ashnod's Trustful Grant can be really nice.
Oh, that's.
So I think I would add like a 1 of Trustful Grant here, and. It's probably enough with 1 sit in a bottle main deck, so maybe you can cut 1 of those.
Fair, yeah, I can see that.
That's my long rant. Now I shall mute myself.
I like that you have the coffin trike trick. That's a lot of fun when it works. So that's really cool.
Actually, the coffin and archaeologists on the trike are basically the same because you can shoot twice. I mean, the coffin is a little bit better than the archaeologist. But in fact, it does basically the same. You try to put more counters on your trike and shoot more damage out of it. So that's why I try to play a split, because your opponent can't artifact removal everything. He can probably destroy the archaeologist and a trike or something like that, but you still have the coffin to remove his creature whatsoever. The coffin is really a cool card here. Like, don't get me wrong, it deals with a lot of problems, and to be fair, I think if I remember right, the list was pretty efficient how it was. I don't know what I faced it against or what I played against, but I probably, the first cuts here are again the Tetravus, because the Tetravus, in this kind of list, there's no way to sack the Tetravus, so whenever your opponent casts a Divine Offering, it says gain 6 life and remove the problematic drop for him. So the first cuts here are not a city in a bottle because I have no tutors for it. I really want to draw it, you know what I mean? But I want I don't want the Tetravus, because the Tetravus is always so easy to destroy. You can kill the trike yourself, and 4 life is not a lot when he divine offers a sushi or a juggernaut. But 6 life is kind of hard to deal with, to be fair. Yeah.
Tetravus is good if you have the blue-white version of this deck where you play with 3 or 4 Sage of Latnam.
Exactly, 100%. Yeah, 100%. And if you're not having Sage of Latnam, Tetravus get so much worse you can't imagine. Like, this card is basically, and to be fair, this is kind of avoid fate in artifact. I never split it up. Like, I never ever had like 4 tokens with Tetravus on the board. Never.
There's a few other decks where I like that card, and the mono blue juxtapose list, it really plays on the 4 Tetravus, 4 Triskelions, because you want to basically remove the counters or split the trike, and then and you want to do that with tap mana vaults, and then juxtapose and give your opponent a tap mana vault and a 1/1 artifact creature, and take back a good artifact and good creature. So there are a few cases, but generally I think you're right. The Tetravus is just really clunky in a lot of lists, and can often do you more harm than good.
Yeah.
You can make it work, I think, in like the Hellscape decks also. Those have occasionally had time to shine. But I still think Tetravus is like a top 16 creature in old school Magic. It's just like you need to just
it is more on 14, 15, 16 than on number 1, to be fair. Like, it is good, but you know what I mean. Like,
It's Divine Offering. That's such a problem post-board.
Exactly.
The card's significantly worse post-board than pre-board.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like Dib. Dib is a really good creature pre-board, but it definitely gets worse post-board between Spirit Links or Mazes of it that can be brought in. It's just more dangerous post-board. I think it's one of those cards like Serendip, which again is one of the top few creatures in Old School. Beautiful list. Anything else on this, or we'll move on to the next one?
Okay, so...
All right, next one.
Next one, and here we are. This is list number 72, Royal. I call it Royal Ice, because I play Royal Assassin and 4 Icy Manipulators just to tap down my opponent's creatures. It is basically an artifact control shell, and with Guardian Beast, I try to tap all my opponent's creatures to finish them up with a super spicy Royal Assassin.
I think this list was one of my favorites that you played in this review special. 4 Royals and Icy. I mean, these were really feared cards back when I started playing Magic. And you have the Beast with the discs and the Chaos Orb, and the Beast protects your books with Transmute, a place and a copy. I love this list. I think this list is great. And in your sideboard, you have Flood, which we hadn't seen before. So That's a really fun card. So I'm really happy to see that.
To be fair, with a card like Flood, you can easily replace it. This is like the 15th sideboard card. It can be something else, but to be fair, if I have the chance to spice it a little bit, I do so. So this is why I went with the Flood. Jeff?
I love Flood. I played it like once, and it was super cool. I just don't think you need that twiddle, that one twiddle that's in there. I mean, you get some cool random combat trick. I was like, you want to spice it up, put the Flood in place of the twiddle or something. I don't know.
Fair. Yeah, I can see that.
Twiddle's like your flex spot, right? An obvious flex spot in this deck.
That's true. The twiddle is the flex slot in the deck, but I thought it is kind of cool to activate the disc directly, but probably you can just play one disc more, but a twiddle is also a card which you only see normally in Twiddle World, and that's it. Like, no one runs twiddle. From time to time you see it in like Troll Disco lists to untap the disc, but otherwise no one plays it. There's zero play for Twiddle, and I really wanted to play it at least once mainboard and try it, and it felt really good, to be fair. I just said, I don't know if you heard it, Magnus, I call this list Royal Ice because I play 4 Icy Manipulator for Royal Assassin. I try to keep it simple on the deck plan as usual. 4 Royal Assassin, 4 Icy Manipulator, 2 Guardian Beast. Done.
It's a real nice list. And I played Twiddle as a one-off in Project M, for example. And Morkla Negra is a fan of playing like one-off Twiddle as well. So there are a few scenarios when we see people like playing Meister's Twiddle. I think also like in general, Flood is...
Sorry?
Flood is actually a kind of good card. So I like to see sideboard Flood. It's a card that can do a lot of damage.
And that's from the dark, right? Flood's a card from the dark, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And from the dark, we only really see in Swedish about a dozen cards that are consistently played.
Yeah.
So when we see cards like Inferno or Flood and our first cards from the dark, it's really nice to see it.
Yeah.
Flood was the card that won the first official in Sweden in 2008 at GothCon. I played Mono, and his Floods was the thing that the game. We were not that many players at that point, but I know I've sent over the link to Charlie, and I think finals matchup at some point in it's scheduled.
Sorry, we didn't get the last thing. Sorry, I don't know why your audio is lacking really at the moment.
Oh, sorry, I don't know what.
You didn't change anything, I know, but
the main point is the Flood card.
Flood is amazing. We keep it like that. Let's move on to the next list. I would say, is that cool for everyone? So
Let's go on next.
here we are, 73. It is Mono Blue Skies. I wanted to play Phantasmal. It's not Phantasmal Image. It's Phantasmal Forces.
Phantasmal Forces.
Phantasmal Forces. I wanted to play them at least once because 4/1 flyers feel good. I mean, like flying for 1. I know you need to pay 1 blue in the upkeep. This was kind of the more difficult lists to play because Charles and I always show our deck lists before we start to play. And I have 4 spikes. And 4 spikes are only good because when your opponent doesn't expect you to have 4 spikes.
But it's not that hard. I just play as if I don't know you have it. So even though I think there's a good chance you have it because I've seen your list, until I see the card one time, and then I would know that you have it. So that's just how we played it. The cool thing about 4 spike, which I really like, is you could take them out for your sideboard games, and there's still a fear that you might have it in for your opponent.
Yeah.
So your opponent might not want to play a spell that they can because they're scared of being 4 spiked. So that can do work even after you take it out. But that's how we played 4 spike.
On a tournament, 100% I would board in 15 cards, would board out 15 cards, and would leave my opponent with like complete confusion. The thing is with 4 spike, I think there are like 90% of the old school players which play the mocks first before they play the land. I don't know why it is. I mean, I always catch myself doing it. And if your opponent starts and has the 4 spike and 4 spike your mocks, you're probably far behind. I don't know. This is why I really think 4 spike is also super highly
Mitja, that will happen to an old school player exactly one time where they lose the mocks, where they play mocks land instead of the other way. Once that happens to you one time, you will never play the mocks before the land ever again because of that.
Yeah. True.
This was a fun list that you played. This was in Phantasmal Forces we haven't seen before. So even though it has an upkeep cost, if you're not playing bolts,
this whole list
it's a 4 power in the air.
If your opponent is playing City in the Bottle, you're done. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. Like, you can try to counter it. If you can't counter it, your deck doesn't work anymore. I mean, I have 4 Flying Man, 4 Serendip, 2 Serendip Djinn, 4 City of Brass, 1 Library. This is close to what? Like 15 cards, 16 cards from Arabian Nights. If the City in the Bottle resolves, you're done. Like, there's no way of winning again. But the list was quite nice to play. Guys, what do you think? Jeff, you need...
Not much to add. I mean, I always wondered, I've never really played with Phantasmal Forces. I always wondered if that was better than Phantom Monster, but I think it probably is, because the extra power will kill an opposing Serendib or do extra damage, and once you've cast it, the upkeep of 1 probably doesn't matter. And I doubt you'd be walking into a sea full of decks with Prodigal Sorcerers or something.
Yeah. Or Pestilences, like if what you're saying is like, if your opponent has it, he has it. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, if you play your Phantasmal...
He has 4 spike.
Yeah, exactly. And if he has the Prodigal Sorcerer to kill your Phantasmal Force, it is what it is, But yeah. Magnus, anything to say about the list?
It's possible that Forces we could change one of them at least for second Polaria. I think it's like, this is possibly like, when you see this as first, like the first card that pops into your mind is Unstable Mutation for a lot of people. But I'm not sure that Unstable Mutation is actually good here. But I think that this is a list where you could potentially play 1 or 2 actually. Because it would mitigate
what should I play? Sorry,
Illusionary Mask.
Oh, Illusionary Mask. Yeah.
Like it mitigates, the upkeep cost of tenor of creature has upkeep costs, right?
Yeah.
So that would be removed for the first few. You also play around like elemental blast, or like, and it's like, would you throw a bolt at something or try to ping something if you don't know if it's a Fanatical Forces or a Flying Man or a Surrender Fleet, which you probably don't know if you play 4 into them. It's like, maybe your opponent doesn't bolt. So I mean, it's more spice than spike, of course.
Yeah.
But like, if we're looking for a deck where Illusionary Moth could be viable, I think this is one of them.
That's true. So I need to buy 4 illusionary masks. I said to Charles, one of the cards I don't need to own is illusionary mask because no one plays it. Thank you, Magnus. Thank you.
So. I thought so too, but apparently we keep finding uses for cards that were unplayable.
Yeah.
Tweeted.
Magnus, if you're going on like that, you need to do it the review every time. So I would stop if I were you, because this is a huge commitment here, sir. You're bringing up way more decks than you used to, but that's really cool. Let's move on to a list which I love because it runs one of my favorite old school cards beside Black Knight. It is the Wombat. I call this list Holy Wombat because I play at least 2 Holy Strength, and like, it is the Wombat. Look how cute he is, like, Wombat. And this is also a list this is the second try on the Wombat list, and I don't feel good how it is at the moment. It needs work, 100%, and I want it to be good, because I love the Wombats. Guys, rip it apart.
Like, there's an obvious card that you're missing here, and that's Enchantment Alteration, I think.
Which one? Sorry?
Enchantment Alteration. Especially when you play a deck with for Unstable Mutation. It can be like insanely good. Like, you play Unstable card, and then they get the -1 counter, and then you just move Unstable Mutation to your Wombat or something. So Alteration could be really cool there, and that could be like a weird combat trick. Like, once you've attacked with your Wombat, they attack with Crypto Spectre or whatever, and then just, I move my whole from the Wombat onto Birds of Paradise. And if you have Enchantment Alteration, I think it will also make a few more control magics, because at that point you can start playing control magics on your own to pump them as a plus giant strength. And then when something gets combat, you instantly gain control of something.
That's actually quite amazing. And we didn't have that card on the stream yet. So, and again, hashtag not on the stream yet. That's quite cool, yeah. Jeff, I mean,
I don't know how I go after Enchantment Alteration. That's pretty cool. That's a good choice. I don't know. I like Divine Transformation, but I don't know if that really is good here. It's just cool. Throw it on your birds and just get to work.
To be fair, this is one of the more spicy lists, because like the Wombat, this list feels like of these modern Boggle list. I don't know how deep you're into modern Magic, but it is called Boggles, and you have these creatures which can't be targeted by spells or abilities, and then you try to enchant that with everything you can find, like get +1/+1 first strike, get +2/+2 when it is enchanted, and lifelink and whatsoever, and your opponent can't target it. Sadly, the Wombat can be targeted, and it's a 4-drop instead of a 1-drop. So, since
to add Troll Shroud, it would be amazing.
Yeah, exactly. This Shroud is insane. This would be insanely good. The problem is here there is basically no card existing in old school Magic. I know we have Spectral Cloak, which gives your creature kind of like this shroud thing, but when you tap it, it's unshrouded, So basically, my next thing is I would try Wombats in a control shell with the Spectral Cloak and counter magic, just to attack and avoid the removal, you know what I mean? And then swing through for like 10 or 12 or 17 or whatsoever. Yeah.
Wombat has vigilance, right?
Wombat has vigilance. No,
Right, so
Wombat
Spectral Cloak is
has...
good for
Wait,
that.
I actually need to check that. Can someone check that for me real quick if the Wombat has
It was
vigilance?
moment of vigilance, yeah, it does.
So Spectral Cloak is
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah. So Spectral Cloak is great, or if you don't, like
Okay.
Anti-Magic Aura does the same, very similar thing. And
Why
again,
do I
like
not play Spectral Cloak in my list?
no, maybe you don't own it.
Yeah, okay, so...
Like the problem with Spectral Cloak is that you can't you can't cast any more enchantments after that.
Oh, that's right. I can't target the Wombat. This was the problem. You're so right. Because the creature, the creature doesn't has hexproof, it gets really shroud, so it can't be targeted anymore.
That's right.
And it's almost the same with the Anti-Magic Aura, because it destroys all the enchantments that were on it before. But I think like Spectral Cloak could be like a reasonable follow-up, or you know, or you could just like add Spectral Cloak to your Birds of Paradise, and then when someone tries to kill your Wombat, you just play Enchanted Alteration, and then you Spectral Cloak it in response.
That's quite right. So we're at the last list, I would say.
Yep, let's go to the last list.
List number 75, the Mitja Meltdown list.
So let me just say about this list is every 25 episodes. So for episode 50, we did a rematch of the 94 World Champion where Zach Dolan won, and we both took one of those lists and we played it. For episode 75, what we did, which was special, is we found the two deck lists of the two people that finished tied for third of the 94 World Championship. And we kind of had if they wanted, instead of to finish T3, if they played a match to see who would have finished third and who would have finished fourth, how would they have done? So this is one of the lists. Mitja, what is the gentleman's name who you played his list?
Oh, wait, I removed the list already. It is Dominic Simmons?
Yeah, Dominic Simmons against Foucault, right? Or what? Cyril Foucault, I think, French, who played against Dominic Simmons. Belgium.
So the one thing about these like historical lists is we don't make any changes. So if it has two strip mines, we're not changing it, even though we're doing a Swedish series. So these are really interesting decks to see like what's included and what's not included, because there was card availability issues. I don't think set lists were released, so you might not know every card that was in the list. Legends, which came out only 2 months before this tournament was played, the Dark was not included in this tournament to be legal. Some of the uncommons were only in one set of boxes.
I think it was the Dark. Charles, it was the Dark. Not
the Dark was not legal for this tournament.
Yeah.
So Legends, there was an A and a B uncommon, so your area might only have half of the uncommon. So you might not even know all the cards that were in the last set that was
I would argue that this is like a spectacularly well-made list for that time. Like I can certainly see why this is top 4, because like first of all it plays 60 cards, which is rare at that point. Like most lists you find is like from play like 72 cards or something. This is a slim list down to 60 cards. It also plays like 26 mana sources or something. I'm not sure, like, but there's quite a lot of them. And you know, the general consensus among pros at that point was like 1/3 should be mana. So like in a real scenario, like most people play like maybe 12 lands plus the Moxen and the Land Worlds.
You'll notice there's no draw 7s, which is
yeah. Well, I mean, like it's not perfect, but like because like this is like the game is less than a year old, and I think that you could find like I think that most of us four has probably seen the second list that actually won, that played like one of Siren's Call and one clone and a Vesuvio, like a random stasis.
Yeah, or time element to bounce, but to be fair,
like not a really good list, and that was the deck that actually won. And a lot of the decks that didn't won were like really bad. And I think that this is not as good as maybe Lestre's second place list with deck at that tournament. But I mean, it's not horrible for being like 94.
Out of the, to be fair, if you compare it to the time, maybe.
You can play lots of cards, right?
Yeah, but I played it. This list is not close to what you can call playable. This is like the worst I've played in years. Like, to be fair, I was like behind, let's say, 3 games already. And I played it perfectly. Like, I played around every card, around every single magic card on the planet existing. Ask Charles, right? There was nothing.
What Mitja's talking about is there was one game. So I was winning most of the games, and one of the games he played perfectly, and I had one out that was a Black Lotus, which I was going to then be able to mind twist his hand, and I top decked the Lotus, and Mitja finally was getting excited to win a game, and I won out at him, and Mitja was screaming, walking around the room.
I brained so hard. I mean, my fucking head was steaming, you know, like I brained this turn so good and it was perfect. And then I just heard, oh, that's quite a good card. Land Lotus Mind with you for everything. I was like, this is complete bullshit. Like, out of nowhere, I was like, this is complete bullshit. Like, this never happens. No, to be fair, that the problem.
And now that I actually count, also I see that it's 66 cards in the list. So I said it was like a 60 card list, but
The thing is, the list has a lot of cards. The Jade statues are... The main issue with these lists back then is they don't know where they want to go. Like, they have aggressive parts, and then, I mean, he has like 4 chain lightnings, but only...
And 4 fireballs, right? I mean, we wouldn't play with 4 fireballs in this
Exactly,
list.
but my main issue is you play 4 chain lightnings, but only 2 lightning balls. Why? I mean... Even back then, you know, lightning bolt is existing. Was there?
Yeah, but they were so scared of flash counter. They're like, chain lightning's just a better card. Because can't be
I won't take part of this trash talk. I think this is a beautiful list, and Mitja maybe is a bad player. Like,
okay, fair.
All right, Mitja. Guess what? We're going to end on that great comment that Magnus summarizes the 25. So everybody, you now know the summary of the 25 list.
No.
Anything else on this list? It's fun to see these historical decks, and we will do something. I'm not going to ruin it, but Magnus is actually helping me get the information for our episode 100. So that will be a surprise, but a really, really special episode. Anything else on the the T3 list from the 94 World Championship?
Jeff.
I want to make sure we're looking at the right list. Is this the one with the Mox Pearl on the sideboard?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it is just because I'm a bad player, and that's why the Mox is in the sideboard. This is the main issue, you know, like...
maybe I got to check again, but I counted 60 cards, but I could be wrong.
I will not count that now. I will not do it. 100%. Go on.
Pearl the sideboard, amazing. No, I don't know. It looks super fun. Yeah, I agree. For like decks back then, I mean, it looks pretty good.
Yeah, like...
one thing I think we should take in mind is this World Championship, they had 512 players, I think. It should be divided by 2. So I think we're 512 players, and they had single elimination. And this guy came to the top 4, which means that this deck didn't lost a single game.
Okay, to be fair, this is fucking crazy.
Over 500 players. So we can laugh at it now, but at that point, you know, this was way before like Wise Man came up with deck or playing like 2 Circle of Protection Red in the sideboard.
Yeah.
This that came later, and so I mean, like, this is early Magic, and at that point, you know, playing 4, having a proper strategy is. It's not to be scoffed at, and I think that I also say that you know what Charlotte he's got a couple of lists for 100, which I think people today can laugh at a bit, and it was something that I thought looked good, 15 years ago, but today we have evolved quite a bit,
That's always part of the fun. No Mishra's Factory, right? No strip mine. It's always no draw sevens. And back then, you always wonder, was this a choice or was it a card availability, or did they not know cards existed? So you can't really go back to the back then.
To be fair, all these lists back then, as you said, the card availability was not the same as we have today, and there was no internet. So even if you try to, let's say, Google something, you go basically to your friend over to next house and just ask, what are you playing in your deck? And he was like, oh bro, this Leviathan is 10-10. I play mono blue, he's so amazing. Yeah, because no one has sword subclosures. Like, you can't imagine how that was compared to what we have now. Like, if you go online and just Google old school Magic, you find like probably 100 deck lists if you go on Google. This was not existing at that point.
Anybody have any other comments with this T3 list?
No, we all want to leave, Charles. We all want to finish that now.
We came to the end of our part 1 of the review, where we reviewed Mitja's deck list from episodes 51 to 75. This was more than 2 hours. We want to thank Jeff and Magnus so much for taking the time to do part 1. These same two gentlemen will join us for part 2, where we're going to review my decks from 51 to 75, and then the viewers could decide which of these lists they like and which they want to play, or hopefully you'll watch some of the episodes too. So thanks so much, everyone, for watching. Be safe, and until next time, bye for now, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much, and take care. Stay safe and healthy. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.